right. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to thank everybody in attendance today for coming, and I'd like to call this regular meeting of City Council, September 9th, 2013 to, I apologize, not a council meeting. First we have a public consultation session before we begin our regular business. So considering this public consultation session, I'll hand the floor over to our corporate administrator to read aloud the required notice.
Thank you. This public consultation is being held to respond to comments received from anyone who may be affected by a proposed change to the city's official community plan bylaw regarding the properties located at 10,008 and 10,012 17th Street. Bylaw number 4185 would redesignate the properties from neighborhood commercial to residential. And there were no written responses received.
Thank you, Brenda. Does anybody wish to speak to this notice here? I'll call the first time for comments from the gallery. I'll call a second time for comments from the gallery. And a third time for comments from the gallery. Hearing none, I declare this public consultation session closed, and we'll shortly head to the public hearing that is being held subsequently after that. I will kick it off again to our corporate administrator to read aloud the required notice.
Thank you. This public hearing is being held to hear from anyone who may be affected by the proposed changes to the city's official community plan and zoning bylaws with regards to the properties located at 10,008 and 10,012 17th Street. OCP Amendment Bylaw number 4185 redesignates the properties from neighborhood commercial to residential, and Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 4186 rezones the properties from C4 Commercial Service Zone to RM2 Residential Medium Density Multiple Family Zone. And again, no written responses received.
Thank you very much. I will call once again for comments from the gallery. Hearing none, I will call a second time for comments from the gallery. And a third time for comments from the gallery. Hearing no comments at all, I will declare this public consultation session closed and move immediately to the public hearing closed. And I'll move immediately to the the second public hearing of City Council held this morning about bylaw number 4187. And I will look to our corporate administrator to read aloud the required notice.
Thank you again. This public hearing is being held to hear from anyone who may be affected by the proposed changes to the city's zoning bylaw regarding a 7.3 acre parcel located east of 17th Street near 87th and 88th Avenues, commonly known as Sunset Ridge. Zoning bylaw number 4187 rezones the property from RM2 Residential Medium Density Multiple Family Zone to CD2 Comprehensive Development 2 Zone. Now, the proposed Comprehensive Development 2 Zone involves the creation of 24 parcels for single-family dwellings and 18 parcels for duplexes. Coach houses and secondary suites would be permitted on all parcels within 90 meters of a fire hydrant, and it would increase the minimum parcel sizes to 400 meters squared for single-family dwelling parcels and to 675 meters squared for duplex parcels. It would add to the required number of off-street parking stalls and amend the siting provisions of coach houses. And no written responses were received.
Thank you very much, Brenda. I will call a first time for comments from the gallery. Hearing none, I'll call a second time for comments from the gallery. And a third time for comments from the gallery. Hearing none, I will declare this public hearing closed. Council will consider these matters later in the meeting that I am about to convene right now. Good morning, everybody. It is September 9th, 2013. I'd like to call this regular meeting of City Council to order. The first item on the agenda is new councillor business, and we have a item identified here by Councillor Parslow that I believe he wishes to speak to. Good morning.
Good morning. If I may, just before that, I just need to share something else with Council.
Certainly.
Last week we met with MP Bob Zimmer, and I just want to inform Council that after listening to Bob Zimmer's answer to Councillor McFadden's question and then his later comments, I must admit I was confused and a bit disturbed. So I got out my UBCM stuff and so on. And remember, those of us who last UBCM, we heard an address by a senior cabinet minister, James, I think it's Jim Moore, is it? James Moore, and about the status of funds from the federal government for infrastructure. Then I talked to Bob Zimmer's executive assistant in this community, Mr. Brian Downey, and made a request of him, which I followed up in writing as an individual, not as council, just as an individual, asking for the program that Mr. Zimmer was referring to and the criteria for application, because I had a conversation also with our staff person, and there's no knowledge of any other infrastructure funds at the municipal level. And so I believe as we wrestle with important infrastructure issues, we need to have clarity over what Mr. Zimmer was referring to. So I did ask that whatever material was presented be sent to our CAO, Jim Shute. So just so people know, that's what I've done, acting as an individual, but listening to Mr. Zimmer. Okay.
It's
Okay.
if I may
Yeah.
just elaborate on that a little bit. I as well did have some questions enter my head after the meeting with Bob last week as well, and it was sort of the atmosphere of the meeting, I suppose. You know, it was just to encourage dialogue and communication, and that's one of the things I took out of it. But I did a bit of a piece of follow-up correspondence that I'm hoping to receive a response to soon about how exactly the Conservatives have managed to, well, are attempting to approach the fiscal considerations that they're under right now. So I'm awaiting a bit of a response from them on that. Hopefully it'll help inform the considerations that are before council right now. So I apologize.
No?
Please go ahead.
Okay, I did submit an item for the agenda today, and I'll read what I've, so that those who don't have it material in front of them can. On August the 12th, I wrote, at the present time, Council has not provided staff with direction on the issue of the fiscal gap. I share the perspective of our staff that this matter should be our overriding strategic priority for 2014. In my opinion, Council needs to show leadership and make a decision on this before our strategic planning, so as to provide a context for that strategic planning session scheduled for December. As a comment, I really appreciated the literature, the reams of literature, if you like, that was provided to us, and have read that now and reflected on it and talked about it with some people I know who are economists, and I appreciate the staff brought that to council. And so we all, I think all council members understand the concept. However, we don't understand the scope of work, and this is what I'm requesting. In order to clarify the scope of the work that would be involved if the fiscal gap were the overriding goal, I propose the following motion. The staff provide a report to Council at the October the 7th regular meeting on the scope and sequence of the work that would be involved if the fiscal gap were the overriding strategic priority of 2014. If this motion was passed, Council would have a deeper perspective of the challenges and the significance of the fiscal gap issue that faces the city of Dawson Creek. Council would be more able to provide staff with direction on the issue prior to strategic planning this December. So I'd like to make that motion.
Very good. Is there a seconder?
I'll second that motion.
Councillor Wilbur is seconding. Is there any discussion on this? Does anybody wish to speak to it? Councillor Wilbur?
I have to agree with Councillor Parslow. I think having all the information, what it's going to entail, to have that as our strategic priority, I think we need to have all that information before we overrule everything else. So that's why I'm seconding it, and it's probably a smart move to gather all the information before we make a decision.
Mm-hmm. At least to understand what's involved as well. I think it's
Right.
pretty valuable. You know, it's a process that council can work with staff on, and if it were to be our overriding strategic priority for 2014, it would obviously involve a lot of council, public, and staff involvement. So I'm getting a better understanding of, well, I would assume, I apologize, that is an assumption, but I think this is a good step. Councillor Kenny?
I agree too that we should be looking at this, but I just don't want to mislead people who read the council minutes or watching this on stream, that it's alarming when you say fiscal gap, the city of Dawson Creek, okay, where we all understand that it's a fiscal gap across the province, across the country,
Yes. Yeah.
across the world. So I just want to make that plain. But I do agree that we should be prepared, because we do want to look at this at our strategic planning session and set it as a priority after Jim's very revealing presentation there on the fiscal gap and what's going on throughout the world. I just want to make a point, it's not just the city of Dawson Creek.
Yes, that's a very good point to make, I think. Ready?
I'm good.
You are all ready for the question. I will call it. All those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? And it's carried unanimously. We will move into the minutes next. Oh, I apologize. Do any other members have any new business? Councillor McFadden.
Good morning, Your Worship. I just want to report that yesterday I had the occasion to be a guest judge at the first annual SPCA Dawson Creek Dog Show. And it was held out by where the old mini golf course was by the Safeway, by the Dawson Creek Mall. It was
the mini golf.
mini golf. There was probably a couple hundred people there. It was a great little fundraiser, great weather. And I did not see Councillor Kenny's critter enrolled in it.
That
So
got past me. Scooter would have
Yeah.
won, hands down.
yeah,
I don't know, I would have entered Spike.
it was a great morning, and I'm sure they raised a few bucks for the SPCA, which is a very worthy cause. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilbur.
Kind of along the same lines, I believe the SPCA is having a fundraiser this weekend, a drive-in movie show at the swimming pool
yes.
parking
Yeah.
lot. So there's tickets you can get around town, but if you get a hold of the SPCA, they'll tell you to get passes for that. And I believe there's a contest for the best animal pajamas. So if you haven't got any, run out and get some. Like my granddaughter's got Scotty dog pajamas or something she's wearing. But on another note, I really had a rewarding summer as acting mayor, and I really want to say thank you to all the volunteers in our community. I was so busy going from one thing to another, and the amount of hours that got put in this community to hold those functions is unbelievable. So thank you.
Yeah. If I can
That's it. That's all I got.
elaborate, maybe I want to extend council's thanks to you, Councillor Wilbur. We are not ignorant of recognizing some of the difficulties that you experienced over the summer, but the ability to see through them and the hard worker attitude that you have, it's just it's a good thing. I
Thank you.
don't really know how to put it into good words, but just
Life goes on.
that's right. That's right. Any other new councillor business? No? Very good. Perhaps I'll elaborate on one council responsibility that I have. I'm sort of mixed up here where to provide updates on my goings-on right now, but I just wanted to report to council on a matter at the library. It's just a report on the success of the summer reading program that was held this summer. It was unprecedented and had, I think, something like 580 participants. It was better attended than any year in the past, so things are going quite well there. I suppose, hearing no other new business, that we'll head into the minutes portion of the meeting. We have 4 sets of minutes from public hearing, public consultation sessions, and regular council meeting from August 12th that are to be considered to be adopted here. Does anybody wish to move them? Councillor Schumann and Councillor Kenny. All those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. Is there any business arising from the minutes? No? Very good. I suppose, no, considering no business arising, we'll move into correspondence. First item, correspondence, is item 5.1, a letter from the City of Langford regarding the downloading infrastructure costs from BC Hydro. Councillor Kenny.
I would like to move that that we send a letter as well, supporting the city of Langley, because Langford, Langford, because we don't want to. I think it's unreasonable, the amount of money that Hydro makes. And that they are now putting the cost on the developers to move the lines to new subdivisions and that, and that it hurts communities that that are trying to build housing for the community to grow or to preserve or attract people into their community. And so I would move that we would send a letter in support to have Hydro
Yes,
do this.
a letter imploring BC Hydro to reevaluate their current position on
Yeah.
the funding?
Yeah.
Okay. That, is there a seconder to that?
Second that.
Councillor Wilbur is seconding. Well, is there any discussion on this matter?
Sorry.
No, no, that's,
Discussed after.
that's good. I can certainly sympathize. We do want to make sure that things are being done appropriately.
Just
hearing- Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
maybe CAO knows this, but is it correct to state that BC Hydro makes lots of money? I thought they lost money.
Well, that's a very interesting question, isn't it? That the Auditor General for BC is in great dispute with the province of BC about. A lot depends on what happens
you
with,
interpret
with deferred expense and transfer to government revenues to decide whether BC Hydro makes money or not.
Yeah, that's right. So to say, could make money.
Could make money.
Question?
Thank you for that question, Councillor Parslow.
I prepared my words better.
All those in favor? And opposed? And it's carried unanimously. Item 5.2 is an email from the Dawson Creek Curling Club, dated August 19th, about a request for signage from the Legion. Councillor McFadden?
I would move the letter be referred over to staff to work with the Legion and the Curling Club to see if they can be of any assistance. I don't think it's a major expense, and it shouldn't be. A bit of time involved, probably.
Very good. Councillor Schumann is seconding. Is there any discussion on this matter? Councillor Wilbur?
Actually, through you, Chair, I'm just wondering to staff, do you foresee any issues or complications with this?
Through your worship, we assume they just kind of need to borrow the picker truck or have us help them with the picker truck for a day. My understanding is they have the sign, it's just a question of placing it on the side of the building.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. And item 5.3 is a letter from BC Hydro regarding electric beautification projects. Councillor Schumann?
Just for information.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Parslow is seconding. Is there any discussion on this matter? Hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And it is carried unanimously. And we'll move right to item 5.4, a letter from the United Way regarding the request to fly the United Way flag for the month of September. I look to council for action. Councillor Kenny?
I move that we fly the United flag for the month of September.
Councillor Schumann is seconding. Is there any discussion?
Just a question, through you to staff. Is this something we've done before for groups?
Through your worship, we actually have a ceremonial flagpole for exactly that reason. So we have our large flagpole that the Canadian flag stays on, and then we have a shorter one that we put up. Everything from United Way flags to Louis Riel Day flags to whatever, on request of community groups.
Thank you.
All right. All those in favor? Opposed? And it is carried. Item 5.5, an email from Norm Dickinson regarding hazards in the city ditch. I believe that there's a bit of background on this piece of correspondence that staff is hoping to provide us with before any action is taken. I understand Mr. Dickinson has had a few problems with the ditch up there. Perhaps staff could elaborate.
Yeah, I'll just kick that over to Kevin.
Sure, thank you.
Through your worship, after the email was sent in by Mr. Dickinson, he actually came in and met with staff, and we went up and visited the site. And he lives on a corner, and right in that corner there was some erosion that had occurred through the rains we had this summer. And he had mentioned some rebar that was sticking.
Yes, yeah.
And that was left over from a project, I think, about 10 years ago when we put in some sandbags and some stuff to help stabilize that corner. So we had Public Works go up and we've removed the hazards and actually done some work and reshaped the ditch.
Okay.
The drainage issues a little bit, so it should be all fixed up.
Very good. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate that. Hearing what we've heard from staff, does council wish to? Oh, go ahead, Councillor Schumann.
I'll just move that for information.
Councillor Schumann, seconded by Councillor Parslow for information. Is there any discussion? No, hearing none. Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Item 5.6 is a letter from Arden Smith from the South Peace Community Resources Society regarding the use of NAR Park for the Take Back the Night community event. I understand that we have representatives from this group coming as a delegation to council in a little while, so perhaps we ought to hold this until afterwards. Item 5.6. Put a note here. With council's permission, of course. I'm not hearing any objection though, so. Move to, pardon me?
I'm just wondering why we just can't deal with this now. I don't think their presentation has anything that's going to,
Change our, it's
whatever, it doesn't matter.
it's all the same. Does council want to go with this now?
I would concur with Councillor Schumann.
Good,
Let's deal with it.
sounds good. So, would somebody like to make a motion? Councillor Schumann?
I would like to move that we allow speakers to use the NAR Park if we don't have something going on there. I've taken part in the Take Back the Night event in the past and think that it's a worthy event for us to support with the NAR Park.
Beautiful. Does anybody, Councillor McFadden is seconding. Awesome. Anybody wish to speak to this? It's gonna be good. I look forward to their presentation. All those in favor? Opposed, and it is carried unanimously. Item 5.7 is a letter from the South Peace Mile Zero Park Society about donation of a surplus lawnmower. Councillor
Just a
Hartnell?
comment first,
Sure,
if I may.
sure.
The society has learned that there is a surplus ride-on lawnmower that is going to be disposed of. So, first of all, before dealing with this, is that factually correct?
Okay.
To staff.
Yep.
Actually, Your Worship, my understanding was that none of the ride-ons were being disposed of this year, that they're scheduled for next year. That was my understanding. I don't know, Mr. Heath.
That's what we understand.
Okay.
Okay. Right
So
on.
maybe the request would be, could next year's disposal of a ride-on lawnmower be one given to the Mile Zero Park Society?
Very good. Moved by Councillor Parslow, seconded by Councillor Wilbur. Staff, do you foresee any problems with that?
Well, your own internal policy is that when they're disposed of, they'll be made available for public bid. So if you just adjusted that motion to say you would waive policy and commit the surplus mower to the Mile Zero Park Society, that would be a little cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like the cleaner motion better than mine.
Very, very good. Both in agreement. I don't think there's any objection from council about that. So, hearing none, I will ask for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. And we will move to item 5.8, a letter from the Nowakan Friendship Center regarding the use of NAR Park for barbecue.
This is just for ratification.
That's right, that's right. So, Councillor Parslow, seconded by Councillor Schumann. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Item 5.9 is a letter from Selena Robinson regarding official opposition breakfast at UBCM. Councillor McFadden?
For information,
Councillor McFadden is moving this for information. Councillor Wilbur is seconding. All those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. Item 5.10 is a letter from the ambulance paramedics of British Columbia QP, regarding an opportunity to meet at UBCM. Does council wish to do anything with this? Councillor Schumann?
I think we should sign up the new mayor to meet with them.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Right on. Councillor McFadden is,
yeah, I'll be, sorry,
Yeah.
Is that a motion?
Yeah.
Second.
yep, you bet. Were you, did you have anything you wish to
Yeah,
say?
I do. I have been trying to get a hold of them. I want to meet with them too. I do have some concerns about the ambulance service in the northern part of BC, so I'll be happy to hear what they have to say about it when we get down there.
Perhaps council could permit Councillor McFadden's attendance as well. I'm not certain whether that's necessary.
Whomever wants to
Yeah.
tag along with the mayor would
Yeah.
probably
That's,
just do so.
yeah. Should be good. Very good. So we'll,
Make him appointment.
that's right. Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Item 5.11 is a memo from the North.
5.10.
5.10, really?
No, that was
No, that
5:10.
was
Was it?
5:10.
I thought we dealt with his official opposition.
This is another one.
This is the ambulance people.
Oh,
5.11.
My agenda reads that the invitation to official opposition is item 5.9.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
5.10 is ambulance
5:10.
paramedics, and
Yeah.
5.11 is what we're on right now.
you're doing good. That's right.
Is that correct, Parslow?
I thought we were voting on the mayor meeting with the official opposition, the paramedics. Sorry, my mistake.
All right. Are we good to move
Yeah,
on to
you're good.
5.11?
Yeah.
All right. Item 5.11 is a memo from the North Central Local Government Association regarding a meeting room available at the 2013 UBCM convention. Does Council wish to do anything
See
with
for
this?
information.
For information? Councillor Schumann is seconding. Councillor McFadden?
No, I was just voting in favor.
Oh, okay.
Get ahead of myself.
Sure. I had one thing that I was just a little bit curious about. Well, perhaps it might come up in the closed, because it's relevant to dealing with other orders of government. Perhaps I'll bring it up in the closed. Forgive me, Council. All those in favor? Oh, sorry, Councillor.
So,
I'm
with
sorry.
regards to this room at UBCM, it's provided by NCLGA, and if you wanted to meet with, we've seen emails for meetings and stuff like
Mhm.
that, our staff could talk to NCLGA and just schedule us into that room.
Very good. Say if we wanted to meet with Mayor of Fort St. John or
Yeah,
anyone. Okay.
absolutely.
Very good. That was more or less my question. So, hearing no other concerns, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. What time have we got here? We've got 9 o'clock, haven't we? Very good. We will recess to the delegations portion of the meeting without any objection.
Oh,
And I believe that we have Aaron Oliver and Tara here for the proclamation. Hello there. How are you? Very good. Perhaps I ought to read out the proclamation first, and then I'll sign it, and we'll have a bit of a discussion about it. So here we go. Whereas the Terry Fox Foundation is an organization of volunteers that allocates donations it receives to cancer research, and whereas this research is essential to promote prevention, detection, treatment, and hopefully a cure for cancer, and whereas the Terry Fox Foundation provides aid to patients and their families through practical and emotional support, and whereas Terry Fox dedicated his life to raising funds for cancer research, and whereas we are committed to continuing the dream that Terry started. Now therefore, I do hereby proclaim Sunday, September 15th as Terry Fox Run Day in Dawson Creek. Oh, pen isn't working. There we are. Very good. So, thank you two very much for coming. So you'd like to speak a little bit about the event?
It is, Sunday at 9 a.m. is registration, 10 a.m. is the run. We have gone, last year was early than regular. We used to do it at 11, but we found that numbers actually increased by 10% by us going earlier in the morning. So we're doing that. It seemed to be a good turnout. We made $3,800 last year in funds, and so hopefully we can raise that a little bit. And a lot of support from businesses in the community as well, giving a lot of prizes and stuff, so.
A couple of prizes last year, actually.
Yes.
I think I won a membership to Curves for. I just gave it away right afterwards.
Where are you starting from and where does it end? And
We start at Sedaten Hall and we utilize the walking trail. So we go right to the mall, the entrance of the mall, but it is 3 kilometers just by Bergeron is where you would turn around if you wanted to do 3. 5 kilometers is just in the middle of the park before you make to the library, and then it's 10 doing the whole route.
thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
So how did your curves,
Pardon me?
how did the curves prize turn out?
I gave it away right
You
after.
did?
You
Yeah.
wouldn't be allowed in there.
All right. I believe that we have Bob Busby and Arden Smith representing the Community Resources Society. Right on. Good morning. You're welcome to come up if you'd like. I'll just read aloud the proclamation here, and then we can have a bit of a discussion afterward. Whereas safety for women continues to be a concern on the streets of Dawson Creek and around the world, and whereas freedom of movement on city streets without fear of violence is a fundamental right that must be protected, and whereas it is important that we take action that makes our community safe for women of all ages, races, marital status, and sexual identity, that our streets are safe for women during the day and in the evenings, and that no area is less safe than other areas. Now therefore, I do hereby proclaim the evening of September 20th, 2013, as Take Back the Night in Dawson Creek. Beautiful.
Get in the picture.
Take Back the Night is an international event, and in Canada it started in 1978. And the purpose is to raise awareness, changing beliefs and attitudes about violence against women. If it happens once in our community, that's once too many. The event is a march starting at the parking lot over at the McPhail-Hutchison building, and it'll be walking through town to the NAR park, where they'll be having a barbecue and rally. So as a community, we stand together to say we want our streets to be safe.
You made that decision.
Awesome.
So I could say, gotta go through there.
We thank our delegations in attendance regarding the proclamations. The next delegation, I believe, item 6.3, is Mr. Bill Sandberg in attendance regarding water drainage on his property. Bill, you're more than welcome to come up to this table that we've got here and
No, it's right here.
make yourself at home. Morning.
Well, good morning to council and the mayor.
How are you?
I want to thank you personally for allowing me to make this presentation with regard to the property on the 1600 block of Dawson Creek.
Mhm.
I have here a bunch of signed petitions. I have a copy for each council member and one for the mayor. I'd like to pass along.
Certainly.
Now, I just want to briefly go over what this is. This problem has been for years in our area there.
Mhm.
It concerns the ditch that runs down our back lane. And
Thank you very
it
much.
is gradually destroying all our back property. So one of the things I want to say, 'cause it started for years when we first had the ditch in there and the lane, we had no problem at all. The ditch ran free and it ran into 16th Street, which is much lower property than what ours is. And there are drains along that street, city drains, eh? Anyway, the city paved 16th Street, and when they did it, they built the approach straight up and up into the property like that, quite an incline, and they blocked off the ditch. So the backup water down our lane started then, eh?
Mhm.
And gradually it took out, to date, 60 feet of my topsoil off my back property, which was all lawn, and it's gone.
Mhm.
Inside my property, there's my neighbor's trees, they're huge. His roots are running right across the back of my property. That's how far down my soil has gone because of the flooding there every spring. Now, I've taken, and so to the neighbors, to the city, this problem year after year.
Mhm.
They said they would look at it, and that's about all they did. Nothing done. Anyway, this spring, no, I wanna get ahead of myself. The college built a house on an empty property there, right next to my house.
Yep.
My property. And, the land they built on was very low, about a foot and a half lower than our land, and years ahead, the city decided to put a community garden in there. So they come in with some equipment and tore the center of the property up, and then they brought in loads of black earth, filled it in and churned it all together,
Mm-hmm.
But they never did develop the community garden, but they left a hump in the middle of the yard. So, the water that accumulates from 17th Street from the curb, where the city pushes their snow every winter, and lots of it, it would run down. Our property
The
runs
ditch.
downhill to the lane. All of them properties do, and out to 16th.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no problem there. So then the college built a home, a one single home, I guess family home, right next to me, right next to my house. And they, when they dug their basement, they had a lot of dirt, they took a deep basement, built the house up. They plowed the dirt all the way along they owned the whole property at the time,
Mm-hmm.
The guy bought, the property was given to the college to build this home for their carpenter courses that they were putting on. But anyway, they built the property quite high, and the minute they were done, the gentleman bought the house. And he was a very good gentleman, a sensible person.
Yeah.
And between me and that property, which is about 6 to 7 feet or more, when they spread their gravel, they spread it a foot higher than the bottom of my fence.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a talk with him, and he was very polite. Oh, geez, we'll fix that up, he says. And he went through there and he cleaned it up.
Mm-hmm.
And just to make sure that it didn't happen, I raised my fence there 6 inches along his property, so that there'd be no water problem.
Yeah.
In the meantime, another gentleman wanted to build a duplex on the property. So when he sold his house, he sold half that property to this gentleman, And there was no room for anything on there. It's a very narrow property, From my fence, there's an easement there,
Mm-hmm.
9-foot easement. And then from the curb, there's an 18-foot that belongs to the city. It's a national thing, Anyway, he contacted the city and asked them if he could have 2 feet off that easement and 2 feet off the other one, so give him a little room to walk out of his house. His house was right up to the limit. Now, I don't know if the city did that or not. I'd never seen it, but anyway, he built the house, and he dug a shallow basement so that he could have bedrooms in the basement and winded it up. And he laid his property out in the mud. I must remember, the gentleman that bought the house, built a driveway in from the curb of 17th Street. He put timber along there and nice fine gravel.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this guy, when he built, he tore that out, broke the timber, and then when he was done the house, he took all that mud and, because his basement was about 6 feet above the ground,
Mm-hmm.
he built it up on an angle like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Right into the edge of my fence.
I recall. Yeah.
And that caused a problem, so I got a hold of the city, and he did this all the way around. And at the back, he built it up right to the lane, covering the ditch there,
Mhm.
of course. Now, when Andy built that driveway into his house, he put a culvert in there, a huge culvert, like that round.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this guy brought his driveway in right alongside of it and completely blocked it off. Andy had put a swale all along that end of his property. You know what a swale is? It's just a small
Mm-hmm.
dent in the soil so that
Yeah.
it wouldn't flood the reservoir's property and run to the thing. Well, they covered that, they covered it right over to the curbing. And they, between the buildings, he brought it back towards the other property and on the property, right up to his driveway.
Mhm.
And then all the way around my house and out the back. So I called the city and they come down, they looked at it, and they said, well, nothing we can do about that. You'll have to get a hold of Hydro. That's their easement there.
Mhm.
Oh, I said, so I called Hydro. I got a hold of a lady there and she said, well, just a minute, I'll look on my computer. She did. She said, I don't see no registered property there for us. So she said, I'll put you through to the department responsible for those things. And the gentleman come on, he said, and I explained to him what happened. He said, just a minute, he'd come back, and no, he said, we have no registered property easement there. He said, where is this, what is the easement for? I said, well, they have a telephone pole on that property, power pole. I said, I guess it's to service that. No, he said, if that's on private property, it's the city's responsibility.
Hmm.
So I contacted the city CEO, whoever he was there, and he said, no, it's registered for Hydro, and I'm gonna check. So he's gonna get back to me. He never did. But I believe there is an easement there because the gentleman that asked for 2 feet of it, it had to be there.
Mhm.
And it's very likely registered in the city's name.
Mhm.
They're responsible for it. But anyway, because
Bill,
of the water,
I don't,
Go ahead.
I hate to interrupt you. That is interesting to note, and this is good what we were hearing, I think, but I just want to remind you that we've got a typical regular time limit for delegations, and I think you're, if I'm looking at the clock
Can we turn
correctly,
that
you're...
up?
Oh, I apologize. We've got a typical regular time allotment for delegations, and we've got some other delegations that are coming in pretty quick, but I think you've got a couple of minutes left here, so I encourage you to summarize your points just as politely and gently as I can.
So, all right. This spring, I'll get quick here, the water built up between the 2 buildings,
Mm-hmm.
took out the guy's driveway, and all his gravel gone into the mud.
Mm-hmm.
He called us. I didn't know he called the city until we set up this thing. He said, well, I called him the other day, and they come down, and he said, it's your problem, it's your property. Where's he gonna run the water? The other guys blocked him completely off,
Mm-hmm.
so it comes into my property. So the water was just within 10 feet of my house, backed up, because all that stuff was frozen along there, and I had to get sand, or salt, and you laid it on there overnight and chiseled. I did that for 4 days to get the water to run out.
Mm-hmm.
It's half filled my backyard, plus the old spot that they ruined from before. And I asked him to take 2 feet of his slant from my fence, just 2 feet, and we put a swale along there so the water would run. Eh?
That's right.
So he said, you'll have to deal with him. He said, we have no bylaws regarding that. So I asked him, Mr. Mayor, is there a bylaw regarding the fact that when you own property, you are to keep the water off your property, you must run it to an area where it's going to get away. You don't run it into other people's property. Now, all them people along that block have driveways into their backyards,
Mm-hmm.
and they have nice gravel, and it's gone.
Hmm.
No, and they're the ones that start complaining to me, and I said, well, I'll see what I can do.
It's the
And-
petition.
It's on there,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm telling you, it's a cost to us people. Eh?
Mm-hmm.
The ditch runs all along that fence, outside the fence, eh?
Yeah.
It's growing up, willows are growing on one end. The guy bought a house in the corner of 16th and the lane, and he had a foot of water in the back of his yard. But more caused by his fault, because he rented property across the lane from him, and they filled the ditch in again. And of course, he had to drive all these heavy equipment in there, and he stored it there all winter. Well, then the water couldn't go nowhere. It was going through all our properties. All right. The second guy from me, had it coming into his garage. So they got a water pump there this spring, and they pumped a lot of it down. There was a long hose to pump it out,
Mm-hmm.
and got rid of some, but most of it went into that guy's property. He had a foot of water in there. So he only bought the house a year ago, and it's up for sale again, because he
Jeez. Yeah.
wants to get out of there. It cost a lot of money to fill that land up again.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll let you go at that. That's
Well,
my presentation. I gave this petition to the city, and I want them to read it,
yeah.
because I believe they are the ones that make the final laws.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was told there's no law against people running water into your property. No bylaw. Well, who needs a bylaw? Common sense tells you that you don't do that,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And if there's no law, well, by gosh, you should get one. And I'll tell you why. There's a lot of property being destroyed, and I know people who have had 3 houses that they own flooded because the guy run his pipe right into their property, and when we got all that rain, destroyed their basements.
Yeah.
And then the city, they went to the city here. They said nothing we could do. We haven't got a bylaw for that.
I'm not, I'm certain the council will be able to get a little bit more background on this when we consider this matter later in the meeting.
Yeah.
We do have your letter on the agenda, and we'll be able to consider it shortly afterwards. We appreciate the information that you've got right here. Also the petition, or sorry, the names that have been signed as well. That's certainly good as well. Also, there's a couple other questions that we can ask of staff when we consider it later as well. So I thank you for making this
Very
presentation to
good.
council.
Thank you. Just keep me in touch, please.
Yes, yeah, you bet.
'Cause, you know, there are laws besides bylaws.
Yeah, you bet there are, you bet.
And nobody wants to go there. Thank you, Henley.
Thank you, Bill. All right. I do apologize. I didn't ask if council had any questions for Mr. Sandberg. Very good. Item 6.4 is a presentation from our energy manager, Matt McWilliam, regarding BC Hydro initiatives. And Matt, I'm not certain whether you need this projector or not. Will you need that?
Yeah, I would appreciate it, thank you.
We'll recess for a couple of minutes to get that all set up.
First of all, I just want to thank you for your time, Mayor and Council. This is it's a great opportunity for me to share some of the successes that we're having over the past 15 months I've been here now, and talk a little bit about what's currently in progress, and just give you a brief summary of where we're at. For me, a pretty exciting opportunity. Typically, these presentations take a little while. I've based these on my quarterly updates to BC Hydro, so I'm going to try to run through what usually takes about an hour through conversations and that sort of thing in about 15 minutes. So I'll try to keep it brief, and I apologize. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at this over the weekend. I am available for further conversation and questions after the presentation and any time after this. But in summary, I want to quickly look at the 2012 energy consumption, some of the progress we're making there, talk a little bit about the energy tracking initiatives that we're currently working on. I'll briefly touch on a workshop that we're trying to plan for the fall for our facilities operators. Give you a quick update on a couple of studies that we've commissioned or in the process of commissioning in some of our buildings, as well as a quick update on some of the projects, and then summarize with some of the successes that I've experienced throughout this and some of the challenges as well. So I'm very excited to be able to share this slide with you. What this shows us is our total energy consumption for the corporate footprint over 2004, 2007, 2010, 11, and 12. And what we see is you know, as the city continued to add infrastructure, our energy footprint, it escalated over that duration. What we saw was a bit of a plateau between 2010 and 2011, and then we're starting to see that drop off the other side now with a 10% reduction in 2012. So I'm very excited to be able to share that with council and mayor. The flip side of that is we absorbed some of those reductions in rate increases. So we actually saw an actual increase in the amount of money that we're paying per unit of energy to hydro of about 15%. So that ate up a lot of our savings. However, had we not made those improvements, we would have paid, well, not exponentially, sorry, a little bit more money compared to what we did. So utility expenditures actually remained relatively flat in 2012 versus 2011, despite the fact that there was a 10% reduction in energy consumption overall. And just in case you're curious, there, the red indicates electricity, and the green is natural gas primarily. So another way of looking at this is we can summarize it. There's our energy consumption in the second column on the left, and it's more or less doubled since 2004. We saw it peak there in 2010 and 11, and then it dropped down about 10% in 2012. In the middle column there's our annual expenditures, and this is just electricity and natural gas. This isn't including transportation fuels. So we went up to about 1.3 million, and then we managed to stay there despite the fact that we're now paying significantly more per unit of energy. And I won't get too bogged down in the details, but if you see that bottom right-hand red 1469, that's now the most we've paid for a combined unit of energy in the history of, well, since we've been tracking this anyway. So we're now paying, you know, significantly more than we were even last year, and we're starting to see that translate into our bills. Now, on the plus side, had energy consumption remained flat for 2012 as opposed to the 10% reduction, we would have paid closer to 1.5 almost, 1.5 million for our natural gas and electricity instead of paying 1.3, which was, you know, almost equivalent to the previous year. This translates into nearly $150,000 in avoided costs for 2012, which is pretty exciting stuff. Now, if we were to project out, you know, a long-term goal, and we've been sort of toying with the idea of maybe we could set a target of 30% energy reduction by 2020, and if we were to plot that out, it'd be about a 3% trajectory. Well, we've already hit 10% in the first year, so it's pretty exciting progress that we're making. I mean, we may not be able to do this year after year after year, but at least we're showing some progress in the right direction.
We're taking
And another benefit of reducing our energy consumption, once again, you can see the electricity in the red and the natural gas in the green. Well, natural gas is contributing, you know, the vast majority of our emissions for our corporate footprint. As a result of the savings both in the electricity and the natural gas side of things, we managed to reduce our corporate footprint by about 15% in terms of our emissions, which is exciting stuff because we saw it continue to escalate, you know, over the past number of years we've been tracking it. So we're finally starting to move in the right direction in terms of our emissions reductions targets. So this is pretty exciting stuff as well. So in an effort to manage our energy, we're trying to bolster our understanding of where our energy is being used. Two different approaches to this. One is very specific and as real-time information as we can possibly get our hands on. This is a little bit more of an involved process. We've only been able to test it so far at the airport, but it is pretty exciting what we're able to find there. The other approach is to look at the overall corporate infrastructure and monitor the utility bills year over year as best we can. So we've gone to what we used to do, which was have somebody enter all that information at the end of the year and give us an annual tally. And we're moving more into an automated system where we have contracted a company to help us automate that process. We'll have more up-to-date information available all the time. We'll be able to customize that, provide reports for facility operators, and get that information to the people that can make the actual changes on the ground, which is pretty exciting. This is what it looks like for our real-time monitoring. So I now have access to this on my phone or through the computer, and we can look at any given time what the energy consumption looks like. This is just the electricity side of things in the airport, and this gives us a good idea of, you know, where we're potentially not using the energy to the best of its ability. So for example, if the airport's closed over the weekend and there's still a fair bit of electricity being used, then it keys me in to want to look further and understand what's going on there. It also allows us to identify what our energy consumption is doing in relation to the weather. You can see that red line squiggling up and down. Well, that's the actual outside temperature. So on certain days when that spikes, we see the air conditioning load go up as well. And one of the benefits of this is we realized that the bathroom fans were running 24 hours a day. So in the summer, if we're air conditioning the building, we're basically spending money to condition that air, and then we're exhausting it unnecessarily 24 hours a day. Conversely, in the wintertime, we'll be heating that air and exhausting it 24 hours a day. So there's an opportunity there to better control that through occupancy sensors and that sort of thing. On the other side of this, and I just mentioned it, instead of going to an annual tally of our energy consumption and utility consumption for each of the individual buildings, we're going to move to a web-based program that will upload this information for us automatically. And it will not only free up some staff time to further analyze the information rather than just upload it, but it gives us more up-to-date information to work with and gives us the ability to download that information for people that need it. That can make the differences, so facility operators and that sort of thing. And I can also customize reports for council and mayor.
Will you take a question now, or do you want them at the end?
Just quick one, Chair.
This normalized for weather, you know, like when I looked at those graphs, I was looking at adjustments for differences in ambient temperature and sunlight hours and all that stuff.
Right.
Is that what you're referring to here?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because the data right now is just raw data. It doesn't have any adjustments for seasonal variations.
So if we're out of whack one year versus another, it's good for us to have an indication of,
Yeah.
maybe it's because of a weather-driven event, maybe it was a much colder winter or a much hotter summer
Yeah.
than we're used to, for example.
Thank
so
you.
it helps.
Good.
Another good point, and I'm glad you brought that up, is that when we do have a chance to go in there and make some retrofits or some changes to the buildings, and we can track the savings, we can see what's happening compared to, you know, this September from the previous year, the year before that. It gives us a good idea of where we're going, you know, the positive steps that we're making. In order to support the green building policy, we're devising a workshop. It'll be hopefully early October this year. We're going to try to get all our facility operators together, give them an opportunity to be exposed to some energy management strategies. We're going to bring up a consultant to work with them. And we're also going to try to encourage not only cooperation from Fort St. John, so we get a couple of their facility operators down, but I would ideally like to open that up and maybe try to get a bit of a regional opportunity for facility operators to share best practices and that sort of thing. So one of the initiatives that we're working towards in order to build that culture and encourage that information sharing. In my experience, whenever I go to these workshops, some of the best benefits are just having opportunities to share with other people and see what's working. And I think that would be a really exciting opportunity for the city as well. A quick update on the studies. So we've managed to work with Hydro in order to get them to support a study in the multiplex. And I'm sure you're all aware, the multiplex represents by far our largest utility consumer. So to have them support a study is fantastic, because it not only helps bolster the list, and this is a long list and it's a growing list of potential opportunities, but it helps secure the process in which we can leverage their dollars, because they've supported the study that identifies the opportunities. We can go to them and say, listen, here's the list of opportunities that you've helped support to identify. We're going to work our way through them and as best we can prioritize them. This will be an ideal complement for the budgeting process later on this fall. I'm pretty excited about this. And just to reiterate, the study is being supported by Hydro, 50% up front and then an additional 50% depending on the implementation of the upgrades that they suggested to study. We've also commissioned a company to help look at the civic cluster, so City Hall, RCMP, and the Fire Hall. These buildings are too small for a Hydro-supported study, but it also will help bolster our understanding for budgeting purposes this fall. We'll have a more concrete idea of where we want to go and how we want to prioritize those upgrades in the future. We're currently working with Hydro to get another audit on the water system supported through them. There's a large opportunity to reduce the amount of aeration that's going into the wastewater system, potentially over the winter time when the biological activity declines due to the weather. So that's a fantastic opportunity. I'm really looking forward to getting you updates on that once we get into that.
What does VFD stand for?
Variable frequency drive. So all that is a fancy term for saying it's an application that allows us to slow our motors down rather than what they are right now, which is either on or off. Quick update on a couple of our lighting projects that are currently in progress, as well as our DEC. So this was a project that was already in the works when I arrived, which was fantastic. The rinks have now been upgraded to basically a computerized operating system. So facility operators can now go in there and fine tune everything just through the use of the computer. And I was actually at the arena on Friday, and Al there was just ecstatic about the advantages of having this system up and running. The previous system was just being held together with duct tape and that sort of thing. It was a real big advantage for him to be able to have this integrated system that he can access basically from anywhere that there's wireless internet or internet in general. And it's already allowed him to significantly reduce the amount of run times for the ice plants, and that's going to translate into some significant savings in terms of electricity. I'm pretty excited about that. It also allows us to integrate additional controls and fine-tune the system, so instead of having fluctuate on and off, working really hard. We can smooth it out through the integration of variable speed drives and that sort of thing. So pretty exciting advance there. Here's a quick synopsis of a couple of lighting projects we have going on right now. So this is one for the Kin Arena where we're basically looking at retrofitting, I'd say 60 to 80% of the building with LEDs. And this is a great opportunity for us to not only reduce the amount of electricity required for the lighting, almost 70%, which is just unheard of compared to the other projects we've done so far, but also give us a great opportunity to test out some different LED technologies throughout. So in addition to the lights over the ice, which is a fantastic addition in itself, we're also going to be able to test out some additional lighting here in City Hall. You might even see some changes in the council hall here in the coming months, as well as some other applications for outdoor lights. Sorry, Terry, go ahead.
The lighting project, does that require a lot of wiring or work, or just bulb changes and fixture changes?
For the most part, yeah, it's just fixture changes, yeah.
So it's not a particularly expensive project?
It is expensive in the sense the technology is quite expensive. The labor portion is not that great though. However, we are getting support from Hydro, which makes it a little bit more palatable, and that's their intention as well, to make these projects more palatable for municipalities, because the savings are just fantastic. 80%, 70% reduction in scarcity.
That was my question, actually, is sort of the basic BC Hydro support. How exactly is that worked out?
Well, it's on a project-by-project basis. For this one, we've been working quite closely with the company out of Vancouver that's supplying the lighting, the actual technology, and they basically put together a worksheet or an Excel spreadsheet that digests the electrical savings, and then they come up with an incentive amount based on the total reduction in energy costs or energy use. Yeah.
So Matt, is that a similar program to what they did for businesses, where you could switch over your fluorescent lighting to LED?
Very similar.
Okay. Yeah.
We're able to take advantage of things that aren't available to smaller businesses because we're such a large customer. So this is the first of our custom projects, which allows us to incorporate all sorts of different stuff that's not available to regular small businesses. A lot of these LED technologies haven't been around long enough for them to recognize in their more standard programs. So they look at each one of these specifically and say, okay, yes, we recognize that as a good product, but they haven't cleared it for their overall operations. So just a quick summary of the benefits of this project. The LED lights over the ice will not only improve the actual lighting levels in there, which will be pretty exciting for those that are using the facility, but it'll also allow the operators to turn the lights on and off more often, as well as control the amount of light that's coming out of them. It'll be dimmable. Right now, the lights, the technology that's in there, it takes about 15 or 20 minutes to restart if they've already been used. So if you've ever been in there and the power's gone off, it takes 15 or 20 minutes for them to turn them back on. So as a result, they quite often will be left on longer than they would if it was easy to just flip on and off like a switch anywhere else. So this is pretty exciting.
Never mind all that. Matt's not a hockey player, so he doesn't know the dispute between figure skaters and hockey players over ice levels. And the 15 minutes you need to bring the lights up, now you need a second to bring the lights up. It'll be a lot better.
It's going to be really exciting, actually. Each individual fixture will be controllable through a computer. So I'm really excited to see these lights up and running, and I think it'll be fantastic in terms of the lighting levels for the different applications. Another point that's kind of interesting is whatever light you put into the building has to be taken out through the ice plant, through the refrigeration system. So the energy just transfers from light into heat into the ice plant. So this will also reduce the amount of work that the ice plants have to do by dropping the heating load through the lighting. And I already mentioned this, but there's also numerous test applications incorporated into the project. So we'll see LED exterior lighting. You'll see some pretty innovative office lighting here in City Hall, and you'll also see some test lighting elsewhere. So the parking lot at the the multiplex, for example, as well as a couple of street light applications. So it's a bit of a testing bed for us, and it really gives us an opportunity to roll those projects out somewhere down the road where the opportunities are huge. Here's a quick summary on this one. We're going to potentially see an 85% reduction in the amount of electricity costs in the pool when we go to this next project. I'm also excited about this one because I'm quite often told that patrons to the pool say, well, we like the new side of the pool better than the old side of the pool. Of course, the pool's, it's all the same age, but what they're referring to is one half of the pool is lit with this orange high pressure sodium lighting, And the other half of the pool is lit with the more traditional, more contemporary, I guess you'd call it, metal halide lighting, which is the white lighting. Well, as we go to LEDs over the next couple of months, it will all be uniform. And I don't know if anybody's been in the Tots pool recently, but we put an LED light underwater there last fall, and all the other incandescent light bulbs around it have burnt out. So now there's only one light left in the Tots pool, and it's the LED one, and it's on its own. It's probably providing more light than the other ones were before. So it's pretty exciting stuff when you start getting into these LEDs. And the maintenance savings on this one are just fantastic because, of course, it's a huge endeavor to get in there with a lift and scaffolding to get in there to re-lamp those lights every couple of years. And it's a harsh environment, so those lamps are burning out sooner than they should otherwise. The pool lights, for example, the underwater ones are burning out every 9 to 12 months. So if we can double that, triple that, I mean, LED potentially could increase that drastically. It's going to be exciting. It's going to allow them to not have to send an electrician with a lifeguard there every 9 to 12 months to replace those lights.
Just two questions if I could. Would that work typically be completed in September, sort of the changing over of light bulbs, during the annual closure?
That was the original intention. We're finding it's becoming a little bit tight for time. The opportunity didn't really present itself until maybe 6 to 8 weeks ago, and the process of getting the paperwork into Hydro, getting the approval and getting it all back has actually pushed the project back a little bit. And I've been told recently that we're going to have a tough time getting the fixtures up here, even though we've got everything lined up now. So I'd like to say this is all going to be done October 1st, but in reality, I don't believe it will be. I think it'll be something that we'll have to continue to work towards throughout the rest of the fall, through different shutdown times and that sort of thing. So I'm a little bit sad to be able to not be able to tell you that it'll be done in the next 4 weeks, but that's what it's looking like.
Yeah. And of course, I'm not sure if you would know whether or not why they would have a different scheme of lighting for half the pool than the other half, but I suppose I can ask Duncan about that later. That's interesting. I never realized that until now.
Yeah, I'm not sure actually. So the quick summary on this project is this one has an excellent payback, primarily through those maintenance costs, which we were fairly conservative, but they're just massive. The cost of getting in there and putting someone under, pulling out those underwater lights or getting up with the scaffolding to replace the overhead lights is pretty phenomenal. We'll also be able to adjust. Sorry, Charlie.
Simple payback.
Yes.
Define that for me.
That is the cost of the project divided by the annual savings in terms of maintenance costs plus electricity.
So why not just use the expression payback? Is there some reason why the word simple is put in?
Simple is put in because organizations will typically account for money that they've had to borrow for specific costs or for specific projects. So simple payback ignores all of that and just says it's going to cost you.
So just simply the cost, the savings of buying something, replacing something else. And
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah, and how we,
excluding all the other costs.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Just to simplify it for how many years it's going to take based on the total cost of the project divided by annual savings year over year through electricity and through maintenance. So we look at that. So a big benefit of this is quite often we don't actually need the levels of light that are provided in the pool based on the amount of light that's available through all the windows. So through improving the technology in the LED, we'll be able to adjust those lighting levels automatically depending on the available light, and that's how you get the 80% reduction in overall energy used for those lights. So pretty exciting opportunities there. This is a quick summary of the projects to date. And I probably won't have time to get into too much of the detail here, but under the sort of orange bronze kind of color, that's the past completed projects to date, and the ones above that and under the blue are the ones that are currently in progress. So I mentioned a couple of the ones up at the top, but just to, if I can quickly summarize, today we've got about 210,000 annual kilowatt hour savings, and we've currently got 282,000 in the works with just those two major projects that I mentioned here. So we're moving into more sophisticated, higher savings projects, as opposed to the for lack of a better term, the nickel and diming projects that we had to get to 210. So that's pretty exciting stuff. We're looking at Councillor McFadden?
Just to follow up to Councillor Parslow's question, simple payback for, what's that first one there, 7.8 days, months?
Years.
7.8 years, sorry,
Years.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we can blend those all together and look, to date, we've done, all of the projects combined have been about a 4.6 year payback on average. And the ones that, I have a slide that summarizes this on the next slide, but the ones that we're currently working on are around 5 years. So as long as we continue to keep an eye on that.
Thank you.
So quick summary, yeah, we're looking at 210 done to date. We've got about 280,000 in progress right now. So it's exciting. The numbers are already getting much larger. The annual savings through electricity and maintenance costs, we're looking at $22,000 from the projects we've done alone. Now, if you remember back at the beginning, I said we saved nearly $150,000 last year in avoided costs. Well, largely that's the responsibility of the facility operators taking an active interest in looking at their energy consumption. And a large portion of those reductions have been in the multiplex, and that's just through turning things off and running things more efficiently. So I'm really excited about those. You know, it dwarfs the amount of savings we've done through projects. We're seeing much more savings for free than we are the ones that we're spending money on.
That's interesting.
Although I really feel that we should continue with the physical changes as well, because we're gonna run out of those operational changes eventually. So just to summarize, we've got about $22,000 worth of annual savings to date, and we've got $37,000 on the drawing board right now. Those are the projects that are currently in progress are gonna result in an additional $37,000. So we're looking at about $60,000 alone after this year's projects, and that'll be every year. And it'll increase. It'll only increase as those electricity prices continue to rise, and we've already seen.
So is it correct then, just to summarize the data you just shared that just got my attention, that 80% of the savings have accrued because of greater staff awareness of the issue of energy conservation?
You're absolutely correct, yeah. And things like that workshop that we're offering in the fall will only continue to
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
solidify those things. It's really exciting to see the operators take an active interest. I mean, at the multiplex now, they're out there reading the meter, comparing last month's bills versus the month before. That didn't happen before. It's fantastic. They wrote me an energy management manual for the building. Didn't even ask them to do it. They came to us around Christmas this year and said, these are some of the opportunities we've identified as low cost, no cost, and some of the higher cost options.
That's great.
They've wrote manuals for their catering staff and that sort of thing to shut everything off after an event now. I mean, it's amazing what's going on there. I think it's really exciting.
So Matt, then would you attribute that to their gas savings as well at the multiplex?
Yeah,
Okay.
so a large portion of that 15% reduction in emissions has to do with the multiplex and some of the initiatives that they're taking. Yeah. And a good portion of that too is it's still a relatively new building. It's very complex, and their understanding and knowledge of the building is growing. So they're more able to run it up, efficiently. That's right. Quick summary, the hydro incentives that we've received to date. So typically we're getting about 20 to 25% back on any of our projects. So today we've got about $35,000 committed from them, and we've got an additional $51,000 committed for just those 2 or 3 projects that we have in the works at the moment. So just to summarize that, total cost that we've spent on our projects to date, it's been $138,000. We've received $35,000 back. So the net cost to the city's been about just a little over $100,000. Our annual savings has been about $22,000, or that's the anticipated annual savings. And the simple payback on that has been 4.6 years. The projects that are currently in progress total about $240,000 with a committed incentive from BC Hydro of $50,000 for a net cost of $188,000. And the annual savings on those projects is anticipated to be about $37,000 with a simple payback of 5 years. Just over 5 years. So some of the challenges, timing. It's been a real experience, a learning experience for me to just understand how long it takes to get things done. Not only on BC Hydro's end, they give us fantastic rebates, but it is a time-consuming process to work with them to get through their applications and to figure out how they work. It's been really interesting. The budgeting process leaves a fairly narrow window, and I think moving into next year's facilities maintenance schedule, I'm going to be much more cognizant of how that works and try to get things lined up a little bit sooner than this year. Perhaps it was a bit of a challenge. And the hydro applications, especially those steady applications, they can take a fantastic amount of time. I didn't get into details, but the water one, we've actually been working on that for over a year. So, and they just continue to pass it from person to person because they're a bit of a bureaucratic process at times. Staff shortages in certain facilities has been a challenge, so, you know, these time-sensitive projects, they do take coordination. It is tough to get in there if people are busy. That's been a challenge for sure. And working with the contractors up here has also been a bit of a challenge at times, because realistically, if you don't have a project for them tomorrow, they're gonna find something else because there's such a demand for their services up here. So that's been interesting as well. The successes, well, the access to a capital budget has been fantastic. Wouldn't have been able to do a lot of those projects and projects that were currently in progress without that. The support of senior staff, mayor and council, I mean, everyone here has been absolutely fantastic in terms of supporting these initiatives, and it's great because we're now starting to see those dividends paying. I feel that this program is really starting to gain some momentum. BC Hydro has not only supported my position through finance and training and that sort of thing, but they've also now given the city a fair bit of money. So that's a fantastic piece of news as well. And you know what, navigating those application processes, BC Hydro actually, I do have to thank them for that, because without somebody there that I can call and ask what's going on and what we need to do, it's really challenging to move those things forward. So they've actually been really helpful in that way. They are all interested in trying to help customers navigate their processes. And I think one of the largest successes has just been that 80% reduction, as Charlie pointed out there, in the operational savings in the buildings. Having those facility operators take an active interest in managing the utility consumption in individual buildings has paid huge dividends so far. So of the portion of the 400,000 kilowatt hours we saw in savings last year, I mean, the project portion of that was fairly small compared to the operational savings. And we've also got a pretty interesting collaboration right now between the city's electrical contractor and some of the LED, some of the companies that are working with LEDs down in Vancouver and Lower Mainland. It's a bit of an interesting collaboration going on there, which is pretty fantastic as well. Where the labor comes locally, but the supplies are coming from the experts down in Vancouver. And I believe that's all I have for you.
Good, Matt.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Job.
Any questions? I know it probably took up a little bit more time than we have allotted. I know you've got a very busy day. And once again,
I do have one question. You had mentioned transportation to dealing with the LEDs for the pool. So is that a matter of them getting the supplies and then shipping it, or is it just a matter of them shipping it to us here in the north?
it's a matter of that there's such a demand for some of these new innovative products that they're, unless you get your name in the queue quite early.
So it's them getting it early and being able
Yeah.
to supply. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Oh, that's awesome.
No, that's great. But going back to BC Hydro offering this funding for beautification projects to do with, have you put any thought into that?
We
Sorry, the
received it.
beautification
This morning,
Oh.
yeah, it was, the BC Hydro has a program now offering, or supporting matching funding for beautification, I don't know, changing
Okay.
light standards or whatever.
Oh, wow.
I
Yeah.
don't think it's
wasn't aware of that.
matching. I think it's
Yeah.
like we gotta
It was,
put up
it was three,
2/3
yeah, no,
and-
yeah, it was, yeah, well, matching, yeah,
Have a look at the agenda.
yeah, have a look
Wait.
at
I'd
it,
love to
anyway,
look at that. Yeah, that's
yeah.
exciting, 'cause
They
typically
don't
we're
send
not-
that to you directly? You're not our hydro guy?
So
He's gonna be.
these are completely different programs. The beautification
Oh,
program
absolutely.
is, and it's not matching. The municipality must contribute 2/3 of the cost,
That's right.
and it is for aesthetic purposes. We have focused, Matt, on business savings. We haven't asked Matt to do anything because it looks prettier. We've asked him to do things because it will save us money. So he wouldn't necessarily be the person we'd go to on a make it prettier kind of a project. That'd be Barry. He's the make it
Barry's
prettier
the-
guy.
Well, I was
Duly noted.
I was thinking more on the lines of saving money, working it so that if there is a way to cost
Combining the
savings,
two.
that you could use that.
Oh, I
fund.
think so.
Yeah,
That's pretty exciting that they're willing
Spend
to offer
money to
money for
save money.
beautification. I wasn't aware of
That's
that.
right, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Jim was telling me that what we've looked at in the past is burying the lines along Alaska Avenue.
Well, we've had a long history of doing that. And for about 20 years, they send us that letter. Every couple of years, council directs that we ask them for an estimate of burying the lines underground on Alaska. They come back and say it's $3 million. You pay your 2, we'll pay our 1. Council says no thanks, and then we do it all again about 5 years later. So they're really not interested in getting any more requests to do an estimate for burying the lines on Alaska, but that doesn't mean that there aren't other things that could be looked at.
Great, keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you,
I
Matt.
appreciate your time.
Makes me
Do you,
happy.
folks want to get right back to business, or would you like to recess for a little bit?
I'm good.
I'm fine.
Doesn't matter to me.
Yes.
Let's
Yes,
finish
we
the
do.
delegations.
Sounds good.
Well, we got the, is it another delegation?
Yes, we
Yep, we
did.
have Kathleen from the chamber.
Kathleen,
Kathleen's
yes.
gonna
Kathleen.
talk to us. Hi, guys.
Update.
Good morning, Kathleen. Come on up. Yep. Make yourself comfortable there at the table.
What a beautiful day in the piece. I've written everything down because I get distracted, so I'm just gonna read. Thank you for your time this morning. I would like to update you on some of the projects that the Chamber of Commerce has been working on this summer. Councillor McFadden is the city's rep for the Chamber of Commerce. We appreciate Councillor McFadden taking the time to check in with us on a regular basis and include us in some of the initiatives the city is currently working on. Councillor McFadden invited me to attend UBCM this year as an opportunity for my board and myself to better understand how government and municipalities work. I'm very excited to attend and would like to extend an offer to Mayor and Council. I would be pleased to represent the business community of Dawson Creek at any meetings or events that relate to economic development or stakeholder engagement. I would be pleased to join council at meetings, forums, or networking events at your request. Our role is to assist all partners to further promote the growing and productive relationship between the business community and our stakeholders. Please let me know what I can do to help promote our town. The Chamber of Commerce, I think most of the councillors were present, hosted Doug McCrae, the owner of CMA, recently. One of the requests that came out of that meeting was for market research around flight schedules, including times, destinations, and costs. I'm in the process of compiling the results and have requested a delegate from our committee to present the survey to Doug. We hope that follow-up conversations will come from the survey and we can continue to strive to bring improved services to our community. The Chamber, Tourism, Dawson Creek, Community Futures, Peace River Yard, and the Dawson Creek Exhibition Association will be working on an economic impact study of the annual Fall Fair and the new Spring Rodeo that will be coming to the Encana Event Center. Sue has offered to help us pursue funding for the study. We look forward to working with our partners to help grow this event and provide further economic benefit to our local businesses and tourism industry. Of course, tomorrow night is the All Candidates Forum that we'll be hosting. We're very excited about that. It starts at 6:30. We invite council and the general public to attend. It's important, it's part of our democratic right and the reason that we live in this great country, so it's important that all of us come out and embrace the process and choose our new mayor, who we'll be very happy to work with in the coming years. Some of the additional projects we are working on include partnering with Simon Fraser University Public Square for a project called Conversations in 100 Communities. It focuses on the economy in all the different sort of pockets of the province and how we can come together to create initiatives and policies that make sense for each area of the province. For Small Business Week, we'll be organizing a scavenger hunt to help promote local shopping and to introduce people to some of our local businesses. We all do an annual small business Christmas party that we're working on. We're going to do a pledge to shop local campaign for the Christmas months, encouraging people not to shop in communities that aren't Dawson Creek and to spend locally. We'll be doing a lunch in October with Mike Bernier, MLA Peace River South. Details are coming on that. We're working with Shelley Wolf on the purchase of the building, which we're looking forward to coming to a conclusion. We have a very important relationship with the city, and we're working really hard to continue to grow that relationship. So we appreciate your support, time, and energy in helping us support our business, our local businesses. That's what we've been working on. I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted.
You just got back from vacation, Kathleen.
I believe Councillor McFadden has a question.
The all candidates meeting is at?
It's at the George Dawson Inn in the Tremblay Room. Starts at 6:30. Questions, we'll still take questions from the floor in a form of writing. We're taking them currently, and we will take them through the course of the evening as well.
Thank you.
Will they have more than 1 minute to elaborate
Yes.
on the answers?
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think
That
it's 2
sounds
minutes,
so
right?
bad.
Is it 2 minutes per question? So 3 minutes opening, 2 minutes per question, and 2 minutes closing.
Nice. That'll give them a little more time to
Exactly.
elaborate. I know 1 minute is,
It was a learning
Bloody
process for
awful.
me. I had no idea what I was doing. So I think we're feeling a bit better this time, and if it doesn't work, then we'll tweak it the night of.
Mhm.
So
yeah.
The 4 minutes opening is very short.
that's
A 4-minute opening?
Yeah, I've been trying it. You can't say much in 4 minutes, particularly
Is that?
Yeah.
but it'll be fun.
Yes, we are looking forward to it.
great.
I'm certain.
That is it.
It'll be good. Thank you very much for the
Thank you.
update. Appreciate the communication between the chamber
Absolutely.
and
It's
Dawson.
important that we help to grow our economy. So
Yeah, you bet.
we're all in it together.
Are.
Thank you.
All right, hearing no objection from council, I'll declare a recess for the next 5 or 10 minutes. We'll reconvene shortly thereafter. By itself, I
Yeah.
suppose I'll
Yeah, I'll stop talking.
call the meeting back to order, and we
Can't hear
will,
you.
sorry, I apologize, folks. I will call the meeting back to order, and we will continue with the business that we had at hand before our delegations came upon us at 9 o'clock. I believe the item that we were at was 5:12, correct me if I'm wrong. An email from Kathy Ulrich, CEO of Northern Health, about an invitation to meet at UBCM. Councillor Parslow.
Well, I mean, it's tempting I'm tempted to say let's schedule a meeting, although I note that they wanted notification by Friday. But I think the two matters that I think that we've talked about at council, the renal dialysis and also the new inpatient wards. So would there be any point in meeting with them again? I don't know.
Councillor Parslow is speaking. I think Shaylee has some thoughts on this as well.
Well, I just know, when we attended the meeting here that they held, we weren't able to ask questions.
Mhm.
So, we did have some at that time, but we weren't able to ask them. So I don't know if that's something that the other councilors that were there still feel we need to, or, given that the date was Friday, we may have passed our time to.
No, they've agreed to hold until
Yeah.
Okay,
noon today.
okay.
Well,
I'm again wondering if it's not something that the mayor and maybe some councilors
Yep.
should attend and just say, one, here, this is our mayor, but two, these are the questions we wanted to ask.
That's right.
And weren't able to at that meeting.
No, that would be Councillor Parslow.
So move.
Councillor Parslow is moving that we arrange a meeting with the CEO of Northern Health at UBCM. Councillor McFadden is seconding. Jim, do you think it's necessary in the motion that we have to identify the things that we wish to, the issues that we wish you to identify with them?
Yes, they've asked for that.
Yeah.
Okay,
And,
so
so if you'll note, the only councillor who responded to the original request was Councillor Wilbur, and suggested that we highlight upgrades to facilities and services at our hospital as a catch-all. That's certainly broad enough, I think, that they couldn't really say that some question we were asking was outside the parameters.
yeah. That's
Let's add specifically renal dialysis, I think.
Yes, that is one, yes.
yeah. That's good.
I think the only other issue for me that I wanted to ask at the meeting was I did notice in their report that the Pooskoopy Care Home and stuff was falling underneath the Fort St. John Hospital budget, and I was wondering why that was, and it didn't fall under Dawson Creek, which is closer to home.
Mhm.
So that caused me concern that maybe some things that should have been on our hospital budget, they had shifted to Fort St. John, and I wanted to know why.
I didn't take note of that actually at the meeting.
Okay.
So again, Peace Haven, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And a topic that I hoped to identify for council's consideration, I suppose, was physician recruitment, Dawson Creek. Certainly that's not just specific to Dawson Creek. There's difficulties all across the province, but I do recall when Councillor McFadden was acting mayor earlier this year, him having a meeting with a couple of prospective physicians, trying to get a sense of what the community was like, and I'm not sure the specifics on that, but
No, it was two of the executive from Northern Health, and they were looking to put together some contacts in Dawson Creek. They wanted a member of council. I gave them my name because we didn't have a sitting mayor.
Yeah.
And then they wanted the name of a realtor. I've arranged that. And I think they wanted information from Sue about economic development, and they wanted a contact for the Encana Center, that sort of thing. Just,
Yeah.
So they had a sort of a list of folks that they could introduce a prospective physician to when they did come to Dawson Creek.
Awesome. Well, I'm not certain what specifics we can provide, but if there's any way that we can aid that, I think it's worth having a discussion about it with those representatives. So maybe that could be included for consideration as well, with no objections, of course.
So who will arrange for the meeting?
Staff.
Staff?
Yes.
Okay.
Right
Question.
on. So, Tyra, do you have those issues and?
Upgrades to services and facilities at Dawson Creek Hospital,
Mm-hmm.
renal dialysis treatment, physician recruitment, and funding responsibility for police station.
Good.
We're good with that, I trust. Right on. We'll authorize the mayor and interested councillors to attend. I'll call the question if there's no objection. All those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. Item 513, email from, a letter from Sandy Armitage and Sheila DaCosta, dated September 4th, regarding senior user fee and age qualification change at the Kemboric Aquatic Centre. Councillor McFadden.
For information, Your Worship.
Councillor McFadden's moving information. Councillor Schumann is seconding. Certainly, that motion is on the floor. Is there any are there any concerns that councillors wish to identify? Any questions wish to be asked? No? I don't think that we ought to receive a petition like this without at least having some discussion. Certainly, I just took exception to a few of the comments about council not taking these matters seriously, or worrying about the interests of fairness throughout the process that we undertook. I think that council underwent the user fee and age qualification changes in the interests of fairness and equality. So it's in those pursuits that we see the policy that we have arrived at just recently, and I personally think that we're on the right track. One question that was identified to me by a member of the group that I hope to direct to staff shortly here is about the hardship clause. Jim, a member did identify that it was too embarrassing to apply for the hardship clause, but I don't think there's too much exposure in that regard, is there?
Through you, Your Worship, that is an ongoing issue for all social services agencies. People's desire for privacy and their reluctance to admit need is a barrier in everyone who works in the field. We do have a program which would assist those in financial hardship to swim at the pool regardless of age, but it requires people to come forward, make application and share personal information, and our experience with that would be no different than Speckers or any other agency that provides such assistance.
Certainly. But it's not I don't...
It's not like we advertise.
That's right, that's right.
It's a very confidential procedure.
Well, yeah, I don't think it's flown around on a flag. So yeah, that was just a concern that I had, and I just appreciate council's consistency on this. Those are my opinions anyway. Does anybody else wish to speak to this? Hearing, Councillor
Sorry,
Wilbur.
just a thought through you.
Certainly.
Chair to staff. So, of course, the ministry can apply on behalf or help their clients apply for that subsidy. Do we have any arrangements made, say, through the seniors advocacy group, that a senior could apply through them to the city for that? And they don't actually have to come to City Hall or go to the pool and ask for that application, or how do we?
So the program that used to be Cassie, and I don't remember what it is
Yeah.
now.
Better at home.
Better at home,
Better
yeah.
at Home now, can do that on behalf of the client, yes.
So, just to put that out there, that there
Yeah.
is that other security in their personal information, or that they're making an application, that they can get assistance from an agency maybe that they're already dealing with. They don't have to come to us.
Yeah. It's a good thing to identify. Thank you. All right. All those in favor and opposed, and it's carried. Unanimously. Item 514 is the email from the official opposition representative regarding invitation to meet with official opposition MLAs at UBCM.
We've dealt with that, right?
No, it's a
Different
different one.
Second one, yeah.
Different letter altogether?
Yeah.
Sure, didn't open it.
Breakfast, this
Oh,
This is to meet with any of the ones on the
Any of the
list.
critics.
Receive information.
Hmm.
Oh,
We didn't
I was gonna say
Count-
receive for
Assume-
information. I don't know if there's anyone in particular we wanna meet with.
Well, I don't feel the need to meet with anyone, but I know our future mayor, mayors in the past have sort of talked to both sides of the political spectrum about these things, and I don't know if our future mayor wants to deal with any of the critics.
Councillor Wilbur?
Through you, Chair, to the staff. Jim, is this something that this list could be giving out to the candidates? Because do we not need to let them know beforehand? If,
Through your worship, I'm not certain what the NDP process on this is. I'm not so sure that you need to identify issues, et cetera. However, your council has taken the position that these speed dates that go on at UBCM, where you get 15 minutes, 10 of it is introductions, and best wishes in your future life, and 5 minutes of it is discussion of an issue, at which time some staff person takes down your concerns. There's no really no dialogue. What you've identified is that if you have an issue that requires attention, it's not a 5-minute issue, and you'll make a separate trip. I don't know why it would be different for NDP opposition critics. If you have an issue where you need to speak to the government and to the NDP critic, I think you would want to set that up as a separate item rather than these speed dates at UBCM.
so I'd like to make a motion that we receive this for information.
Very good. Councillor Schumann is seconding. No discussion, I trust. All those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. Item 515, letter from Connie Patterson, in the Exhibition Association regarding the use of city equipment. Councillor Parslow.
I would like to move that we grant the request received from the Dawson Creek Exhibition Association for equipment usage.
Very good. Is there a seconder? Councillor Kenny is seconding, and Councillor Wilbur wishes to speak to this.
Yeah, again, I just have a question for staff. Is there any difficulty in this? We're going into our fall-winter schedule, so is there any difficulty around the equipment being used for this?
So firstly, we have a standardized agreement with the Fall Fair and Exhibition Grounds for the period a couple weeks before, during, and a couple weeks after the fair that lays out the conditions for use of city equipment. And among those are that there must be a qualified operator, that the equipment isn't necessary at that time for the city's operation. So we're just expecting to extend that in this circumstance for these additional 45 days. If we have a water break, our backhoe's gonna have to be digging at the water break, and they understand that.
Okay.
And they've specifically scheduled the bulk of this work to be in the evenings on weekends, so absent emergency, our equipment should be free.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. And last but not least for correspondence is item 516, letter from BC Transit invitation to meet with CEO and other representatives at UBCM. You want to take them on a
For
bus ride?
information, Your Worship.
For information. Councillor Parslow is seconding. Any thoughts? No. Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried unanimously. Very good. And that takes us to reports. Item 7.1, report from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development regarding the mayor's vehicle. I look to council for action.
Well, we have a recommendation that we receive this report for discussion, so I so move.
Certainly. Councillor Parslow is moving. We receive for discussion. Councillor McFadden is seconding. All those in favor? Opposed, and it's carried. So let's discuss it.
Well, I'm prepared to put the motion forward based upon this report, so you may want to discuss things through that motion. So I move that the mayor's vehicle be returned to Peace Country Toyota, and that the mayor's travel claims be paid on the same basis as councillors.
Very good. Councillor Schumann is seconding. Very good. So, is there any discussion on that? Oh, sorry, Councillor Schumann, I thought you were just enthusiastically seconding it or something.
Yeah. No, I would like to see us keep track of what the mayor does spend in the next year or so on travel, just so that we can have a comparison of the costs of providing the vehicle versus what the actual cost is once we're paying for kilometers. So that's, I'm all in favor of giving it back. I think all of the mayoral candidates at the moment have, indicated they would have no need for it anyways, but I'd be interested to see if we track that cost, what it comes out in the end, if it's cheaper to pay the kilometers or to have the leased vehicle. Just my opinion.
Jim, is that a outside the responsibilities of regular responsibilities of staff request, or?
All that information is tracked
already there.
already, and it's
It's all
reported
there.
once a year.
Oh, yes, yes, very good. Well, I suppose we can receive that information later. Is there any other discussion that needs to be had? Councillor Parslow?
So at the present time, councillors are responsible for their travel within the city of Dawson Creek as they attend various functions and out-of-town travel. Using vehicle is at 52 cents a kilometre. So the mileage that's on this vehicle at a time will include a blend of in-town and out-of-town travel. I imagine that the regional district, travel to regional district meetings, wherever they're held, are reimbursed to the city if the person makes a claim, or if they pay directly to the individual, then the person doesn't make a claim to the city. So they're the arrangements as I understand them, and there's a chart of mileage and so on. So I just think this is a significant, from my previous life, every $1,000 or 10,000 adds up to a lot. So if you keep working at it, so this is why I'm putting it forward.
Very good. Thank you very much. I can sympathize as well. No other thoughts? Very good. I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, and it's carried. Item 7.2, report from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development regarding development variance permit application for Bob and Janet St. Julian at 1800 108th Avenue. Councillor Schumann.
I'd move report number 13-206 from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development regarding the development variance permit number 13-05 for Bob and Janet St. Julian, requesting the minimum exterior side setback for the accessory building be reduced from 3.0 meters to 0 meters at 1800 108 Avenue to be received, and further that staff be directed to proceed with the notification process for development variance permit number 13-05.
Very good. Is there a seconder? Councillor McFadden is seconding. Is there any discussion on this? Councillor Wilbur.
I just want to clarify that I read in the report that the existing exterior building would be removed when this one was built. Through you to staff. Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
Very good. So this will we'll begin the public process that council is very familiar with by now, I'm sure, for the variance. All those in favor? All those opposed? Item 7.3 is report number 13-208 from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development regarding development permit application for numbered company, Alberta Limited, Enviro Rentals Limited at 11111 First Street. Councillor Parslow.
I'm prepared to make the motion that report number 13-208 from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development redevelopment permit application from 1115149 Alberta Limited, Enviro Rentals for 11111 First Street be received. Further, development permit 1326 for the placement of office trailer as the principal building at 11111 First Street be authorized in principle and issued upon successful completion of the required 10-day notification period and receipt of the financial security.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder there? Councillor Wilbur, seconding. Any discussion? Hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? It is carried unanimously. We thank Mr. Christensen, I believe, for being in attendance to participate in this matter and possibly field any questions if difficulties arose, but that hasn't happened. Thank you for your attendance. Item 7.4 is report number 13-199 from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development regarding the tender for the Loran Water Reservoir. An exciting report for sure. Councillor Wilbur.
I'll make a recommendation that report number 13-199 from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development be received. Further, that council award tender 2013-21 Loran Storage Water Reservoir to Maple Reindeers for $2,497,000 plus taxes.
Very good. Councillor McFadden gave me a nod there, so he's seconding.
I did.
Very good. Is there any discussion or thoughts, questions? Councillor McFadden?
Just a question for staff, Your Worship. Now, when would construction start on this, and when would it be completed? And is this winter work or summer work, or how does that unfold?
Through your worship, their intent is to start as soon as possible, work as long as weather permits, and then probably cease, and then continue in when spring hits, so
Yeah.
April. So it's not feasible for them to try and get it completed, or to work through the winter months. So that's the plan as it sits.
So if they get started this fall, then by the end of next year's construction season, it should be ready to start filling.
That's correct.
I have a bit of a question, I suppose, as well to direct to staff. The budgeted and the borrowing, the authorization for the borrowing is about $4 million. And it's recommended that a 10% contingency be left aside outside the 2.4 or 2.5 million bid. This is going to be a dumb question, but what is done with what is going to be done with the money that we don't borrow? Or sorry, we are borrowing it, but what do we do with the extra, I guess? Same story as the snow removal budget.
Through your worship, actually, oh, you got it? You want to talk?
I'll kick that to Shelley, but the short answer is we don't borrow it if we don't need it.
Okay.
That's right, and the boring's 3.5.
3.5, is that right?
Mhm.
I thought it was, okay, very good. Very good. So we will borrow the exact amount of the bid plus $250,000, is that correct?
Basically, what we do is a short-term draw as the construction goes through,
Mm-hmm.
and then once the project is complete, we borrow up to the max if we need. If we
Okay,
don't need it, then it just stays on the table, or we write to the ministry to take it off.
interesting.
But this is one contract. The spending is different than the funding.
Mm-hmm. Councillor Wilbur.
I'm just wondering, then, 'cause in the report, under financial, it does says a project is 4 million, so does that need to be corrected if it's 3.5?
No, as I
Okay.
said before, spending is different than the funding.
Okay, thanks.
The project is 4 million, but the funding is 3.5 borrowing and 500,000 from the capital reserve.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for those responses. Seeing no hands, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, and it is carried unanimously. Item 7.5 is a report number 13-210 from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development regarding a development permit application for Betco Projects Limited, Speedy Glass at 11308 8th Street. Councillor Kenny.
I'll move the recommendation that report number 13-210 from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development regarding the development permit application for Herbertco Projects Limited, Speedy Glass, for 11308 8th Street be received. Further, that development permit number 13-25 for the construction of the commercial storage shed at 11308 8th Street be authorized in principle and issued upon successful completion of the required 10-day notification period and receipt of the financial security.
Very good. Councillor Parslow is seconding. Seeing nobody jumping to the microphones, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. That brings us to item 7.6, report from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development regarding the resident concerns along 107th Avenue and 8th Street. Councillor Parslow.
I'd like to move that report 13-211 from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development re resident concerns on 107th Avenue and 8th Street be received. Further, that Council direct staff to install no parking signs on the north side of the Cal Tire building. Furthermore, staff be directed to paint no parking in the laneway north of the Cal Tire building with a defined north edge of the laneway. Further, the bylaw staff be directed to enforce the no parking in the laneway north of the Cal Tire building.
Very good. Councillor Kenny is seconding. Is there any discussion? Councillor Parslow?
Just a few comments. I mean, staff always does good work, but I really like the way this was presented and done. And I think the concerns that I had based upon Paul Kuriata's presentation was fire risk. That's been addressed. That was a big concern to me, and also the blocking of the lane access. That was a big concern to me. And I think staff's work has been thorough, comprehensive, and considered all interests. And I think this is a good report, and that's why that's why I'm supporting the recommendation.
Very good. I had a couple of curiosities with this report. Well, actually, one specific one, and I realize here that staff has combined the two resolutions that came out of that meeting into one report, and I was just looking a little into the request for notification requirements and options for consideration. I see here that it's identified that the council, that staff is recommending that we keep the 30-meter radius of the property of notification in line. They're recommending that we maintain that throughout this report. And I was wondering what basis that was on? Is it just on the past, you know, that the residents were able to participate quite well in this, or just that council has a lot of leeway in increasing the notification area? I'm just, I was hoping that staff could elaborate on it a little bit.
Through your worship, the proof is in the pudding. You just went through, as you normally do, public consultation on an OCP and 2 public hearings where you called fruitlessly for anyone to come forward. That's the majority of all of your public hearings. When you have one that is controversial such as this, the council chamber meeting is packed with people wishing to speak, all of whom say they didn't get notice, yet they're there. The proof is in the pudding. People find out about these things. I don't know that you need to add process. The truth of the matter is, when people are upset and angry about a proposed land use change in the neighborhood, they find out about it and they come and tell you what they think. And most of the times, they actually don't care and they don't come and say what you think. And changing the notice distances or periods isn't going to change any of that.
I think that you get people. Oh, I shouldn't get into too much of an argument, but I don't think there's much harm in increasing the area. You know, certainly I understand staff's arguments about increasing the time, which is, you know, to have a expedient application and approval process. But I don't think that receiving a letter in the mail is particularly harmful.
I think that's a separate issue, though, isn't it?
Why is that?
No, this issue is just about the signs and the no parking, really.
No, this one's about the notification and the other concerns as well. Councillor Parslow.
I think this matter, and I stand to be corrected, I'm using my memory here, but isn't that issue contained in your report on, or as I'm thinking something else, whereby council can, oh no, I'm thinking of something else, where council can, for each particular controversial or sensitive issue, adopt a particular communication plan. Yeah. Thank you.
You'll see actually later in your agenda, Your Worship, that there is a recommendation to extend notice because we're aware of problems on a 2-block area about traffic that would normally be outside. But just in the general way, staff is always going to be suggesting to you that you don't create solutions to problems you don't have, and you don't add regulations that you have no evidence that you need. Those are the things that government does that tend not to be well received by the public. That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree with that 100%. You know, a designer knows he's achieved perfection now, and there's nothing left to add, but there's nothing left to take away. But I just, that's all right, I suppose. I'm not sensing a lot of guff from the other folks here. So, is there any other? Oh, sorry, Councillor Parslow.
Well, I mean, certainly the people were saying that they didn't know, but they certainly did get to know.
They were
so if something, I don't think we should add unnecessary work. I think we have the notification. As I reflect on, if things are particularly sensitive, we can, staff or council can direct this could be a sensitive issue and make some special thing, but as a general rule, I think it works as well. I would concur with the staff's thoughts on this one.
I don't want to go around in circles, but I believe that they were frustrated in the way that it came about, you know?
Yeah.
And when you engage people, rather than people engaging themselves, you get a first impression that is from the city, you know, and that's, I don't think, a bad thing. Sorry, Councillor Kenny.
It was a difficult issue for everybody in regard to that street, but I'm comfortable with how council has responded to the residents. I do want to congratulate Paul Curiata for his excellent presentation, though, and bringing it forward. He did it in a very professional manner, I felt, and he did congregate his street quite well, that they got their points across. And, you know, I know that they didn't get everything that they wanted, but I think that we responded the best way that we could to this situation. But I want it noted that, Paul Curiata did a good job. And
Certainly. Councillor Wilbur, did I see your hand earlier?
Well, just, actually, Councillor Kenny kind of touched on it, but also that it's not just that the distance that we mail out, it's on our webpage. We reach out in many, many ways. And when people are frustrated or passionate, they'll get here. They always do. And when they're not, as this morning, there was no one there to speak. So I'm confident in the procedures that we have, and I'm a passionate person, so I know when I've got something to say, I get myself to the door, and anyone like me is the same way. So I'm really confident in the way we do things, and those people were notified. They did get here, and they did present well. So
I disagree with you guys, but anyway, I will call the question. All those in favor? And opposed? Opposed myself. Item 7.7. Report number 13-209 from the Director of Corporate Administration regarding the 2013-2014 engagement plan. Councillor Wilbur, sorry.
That report number 13-209 from the Director of Corporate Administration regarding draft communication plan be received. Further, that the 2013-2014 engagement plan attached to this report be approved. And further, that staff be directed to work with Northern Development Initiative Trust to complete the internal and external objectives included within the plan.
Very good. Councillor Schumann is seconding. Any discussion on this? Anything to outline or speak to?
Just to highlight the partnership with the Northern Development Initiative Trust, I think that's a real positive thing, and going to get some bang without the bucks, I think.
That's a very good thing to identify. I really appreciated the social settings for discussion being identified in there as well. I once again want to commend staff for their outreach to the residents up along, is it 98th Avenue up on the top? A great way to engage people, and those sorts of initiatives are good, and I'd like to see them, and I'm glad to see them included in this plan. Is there anything else? Hearing nothing, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Item 7.9 is a report. Oh, is that 7.8? Jeez. Sorry, folks. Item 7.8 is a report from the Deputy Director of Community Services regarding the City Hall boiler replacement tender. Councillor Parslow.
I move that report 13-214 from the Deputy Director of Community Services re City Hall boiler line replacement be received. Further, the Council reallocate $200,000 from the NAR station upgrades capital project to replace the City Hall boiler line. Further, the Council approves C. Norman Trenchy to complete the work at the lump sum bid price of $148,000 plus additional taxes.
Very good. Councillor McFadden is seconding. Any concerns? Hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. There we go. 7.9. Report from the airport manager regarding the request for qualifications for the airport tree removal. Councillor McFadden.
I'll move that report number 13-202 from the airport manager regarding request for quotation 2013-24 airport tree removal be received, and that council authorize the additional cost and award the 2013-24 request for quotation to Silmec 709-8332 in the amount of $109,995 plus tax.
Councillor Parslow is seconding that. Councillor Wilbur?
I just want it's a little bit more than we originally thought it would be, but I'm happy to say we still have it covered, right, with that $250,000 that we moved over.
Very good. Can come out of that reserve and complete this work. Maybe I can initiate a discussion about moving forward. After all these trees are cut down, I ask staff the question, what's next?
Through your worship, all things being equal, what's next is a budget request for monies to replace vegetation with a type that will not grow to the same heights. That would be the next step.
Very good. Very good. That'll be under consideration next year, I hope. Very good. Councillor Parslow.
Just a reflection, this airport reserve fund, which I call the Terry McFadden Fund, is proving to be very useful.
Thank you, Councillor.
At a cost. Just,
Very good. We've had our comments. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And it is carried. Item 711 is report number 13.
10.
Is it really?
Municipal
710?
Insurance Association.
What is the matter with me? For goodness sake.
Mustn't forget that.
the work,
Yes.
that'll be a stimulating.
A report from the Deputy Director of Corporate Administration regarding the Municipal Insurance Association of BC Annual General Meeting. Councillor Parslow.
No,
Oh,
I don't want to say
sorry.
anything about this. I'm just hoping that Terry will volunteer to go in my place.
Don't do it, Terry. Don't do it.
See,
Only
Charlie,
kidding, only kidding.
Councillor McFadden.
I would move that report number 13-213 from the Deputy Director of Corporate Administration regarding a Municipal Insurance Association AGM resolution be received for discussion.
Very good. Is there a seconder? Councillor Schumann. All those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. And perhaps I'll kick things off to staff to initiate the discussion.
Through your worship, much as Councillor Parslow would like to hand this responsibility off, there's no time to register another voting delegate, so it will be Councillor Parslow who will be at the MIA annual meeting. The question before council is, do they wish to take a stand on the proposed resolutions and direct Councillor Parslow how to vote, or will they allow Councillor Parslow to go listen to the information and make a decision at the time? The first of the items, which is the extension of liability services or liability insurance to boards or bodies established by council resolution, is kind of a housekeeping. It was changed to allow those that were created by bylaw some time ago, and now they're modernizing because many things are done now by community charter allows things to be done by resolution that previously had to be done by bylaw. So that's kind of housekeeping. But the second one is much more momentous. At the moment, the Municipal Insurance Association, which is an insurance reciprocal, which is to say it is owned by its members. So the City of Dawson Creek is a part owner of the Municipal Insurance Association. We are in, that is why we have a voting delegate. We have a voting delegate as a co-owner. It was established because we came to a point in time in the 80s where the private insurance market either wouldn't provide liability insurance to municipalities or were charging so much that it was not viable. So municipalities in BC got together and created their own insurance reciprocal to provide those coverages that traditional insurance companies would not at an affordable cost. In addition to which, because it's a reciprocal and not an insurance company, it doesn't behave like an insurance company. When a claim is received, the first duty of the adjusters at Municipal Insurance Association is to find a way to pay the claim. Whereas at a private insurance company, that may not be the direction that that adjuster is under. Now they are suggesting that they would move to covering property insurance. We have not seen in our case any evidence that property coverage is not available or that the prices are too high to be viable, although they are reporting that others in our business are seeing that. So that is something that Councillor Parslow is going to have to hear more information about. There is not enough included in their report, because really they're talking now about competing with the local insurance brokers here for property insurance. Additionally, they are suggesting that they may extend coverage to underground pipes, which has not been available on the private market. And although that sounds wonderful from our point of view, that we could insure, for instance, the new sewer trunk line for its useful life, 25 years, 50 years, and any breaks would be covered by insurance. When you multiply that out by 170 municipalities in BC making claims for water breaks, you have to wonder about the financial viability of the reciprocal. So these are things that Councillor Parslow is going to have to hear the information presented before he could possibly, cast the city's ownership vote. So I think actually Councillor Parslow is going to be in for a good day's work there.
Well, maybe you guys can be on hand so we can court us in a suitable bar to discuss these things.
Phone conference.
Where-
Councillor McFadden?
Just a question back to staff. Does the MIA have a large slush fund like Zurich Life might have when the arena collapsed, or do they bill us on an annual basis proportionate to the claims they pay out in the year previous, or how does that work?
Well, in terms of the business line they are in now, which is liability insurance, they have an actuarially adjusted fund. So our fund, or our contributions annually, are not only based on our own claims experience, but they're also based on the global claims experience within the reciprocal about how much money might be needed. I don't know, because there's no detail provided about how they intend to establish a reserve fund for property insurance. And so it may be that a big rate increase is on its way to fund this, if that is how they decide to go. I don't know the answer to that because it's not provided in the information.
Thank you.
Very good. Councillor Schumann.
So I think that we could just move that Councillor Parslow attend, and maybe he takes staff with him for advice on these matters.
Actually, staff won't be allowed in.
Oh, staff
This
not
is
allowed
a voting delegates only allowed in the meeting.
in? Okay, so staff is gonna give great advice before he goes in. And I say we leave it to Councillor Parslow's discretion.
Second.
Councillor McFadden is seconding, moved by Councillor Schumann. I concur. I think that the information that Councillor Parslow will be able to acquaint himself with from now until the time of the vote, that I think will inform his decision and help him make one that represents the best interests of the municipality. You guys think so too?
Let's vote.
Let's find out, yeah. All those in favor? Those opposed? And it's carried. I was right. All right. Item 7.11, report number 13-212 from the Deputy Director of Corporate Administration regarding the Green Communities Award. Councillor Schumann.
Move report number 13-212 from the Deputy Director of Corporate Administration regarding the Green Communities Level 3 award being received. Further, that staff be directed to immediately include the carbon neutral branding on all online and digital publications. And further, that staff be directed to include the branding on printed documents when existing stock are otherwise outdated, unusable or depleted.
Councillor McFadden is seconding. The motion is moved by Councillor Schumann. Any discussion on this? No? Perhaps after the meeting, I hope to inquire the actual amount and offsets that needed to be purchased for us to attain this level. But I will be able to figure that out shortly afterwards if that information is not readily available. I believe our CFO has an answer.
Through your worship, so for 2012, the city paid $82,650 for carbon credits, but it actually received $89,722 back in carbon tax. So there was a net savings of just over $7,000.
Right on. Right on.
Question.
All right. All those in favor? Opposed? And it is carried. Can have that. That'll be all right. Item 712, report number 13-207 from the Deputy Chief Financial Officer regarding Trendsetters Hair Salon, 925 103rd Avenue. Councillor Parslow.
I'd like to move that report number 13-207 from the Deputy Chief Financial Officer, Trendsetters Hair Salon, 925 103rd Avenue be received. Further, that the request from Bob Slawinski for utility billing adjustment for Trendsetters Hair Salon, located at 925 103rd Avenue, be denied.
Very good. Is there a seconder to that?
I'll second.
Councillor Wilbur is seconding. Sure.
Just the
Councillor
reason
Parslow.
I'm voting for this, it's regrettable what happened, but this happens all over the place, and the city can't be responsible for people's failures of appliances and toilets and so on. I mean, it's just an unfortunate fact of life
Yeah.
that these things do happen. Just again illustrates the need to be vigilant. When you live with a water pump like I do, you are monitoring that stuff all the time, having had 4 daughters who often screwed up the toilet apparatus one way or the other. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, if one pays, it's either one pays or everybody pays. So I just have one question. That's about timelines. When will Ms. Slawinski be required to pay this unfortunate bill?
Through your worship, she'll be presented, she has been presented the invoice, she'll be told of the decision of council, and if she is, if she requests a payment schedule, we'll negotiate a payment schedule with her.
Okay, and that can extend over a longer period of time to make it a little bit easier to pay off. That's a little comforting to know. Any other questions? No? Hearing none, I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? And it is carried. Item 713 is report number 13-215 from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development regarding development permit application for CFA Investment Incorporated, City Furniture at 620 105th Avenue. I believe this was well, it wasn't that late. I believe council received this information on Friday. Yeah. Very good. Councillor Kenny.
I'll move the recommendation.
Very good.
That report number 13-215 from the Director of Infrastructure and Sustainable Development regarding development permit application for CFA Investment Incorporation for 620-105 Avenue be received. And further, that development permit number 13-27 for the construction of the light industrial building at 620-105th Avenue be authorized in principle and issued upon successful completion of the required 10-day notification period and receipt of the financial security. And further, that the notification area for development permit number 13-27 be expanded to include the properties along 105th Avenue to 7th Street.
Very good. Councillor Parslow is seconding. Any discussion on this? Councillor McFadden?
I'm surprised at the zoning up there. I thought it would have been R1 or something, but I see on the map here, there's something that looks like it's to the east of the red box. Is that a residential house, or is that owned by the applicant? Does anybody know?
I suppose that question will be forwarded to staff who don't have the map in front of them.
Well, I have the map in front of me and I can't tell from the aerial what that is.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm just...
It could be everything from a trailer, from a tractor trailer unit to a pole shed. I'm sorry, I just don't know the answer to that.
But I guess then the applicant owns all that property within that sort of square box. Is that what I'm understanding here?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. I missed that.
Very good.
Yeah.
So, hearing no other questions, I will call the... Oh, Councillor
I'm
Park.
voting in favour,
Okay.
so I thought I just was anticipating you.
See, you've been so on the spot this meeting that I'm even taking a contrite look as a desire to speak. So I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And it is carried. Jim?
Yeah, through your worship, as you know, I frequently remind you folks to celebrate the fact that you're getting so many development permit applications. So I'd say that again for your meeting today. But also, you should understand how much in contrast your approach to this. This item did come to us Friday, which is after your agenda deadline. Staff turned it around in a day. Council approved putting it on the agenda, and now it's out for public comment. That is a process that in most of the other jurisdictions where developers work is going to be a months and months process, not a 2-day process. You guys should congratulate yourself for the ease of process you have established here. It's not the normal thing in any way, shape, or form.
I have heard similar things from different communities. Very good. So we've concluded the reports section of the meeting, and we will head into the bylaws section. Item 8.1 is the Water Conservation Measures Amendment Bylaw number 4183, consideration for adoption. Councillor McFadden is moving. Councillor Schumann is seconding. All those in favor? And opposed, and it's carried. Item 8.2 is Subdivision and Development Servicing Bylaw number 4176 for consideration of adoption. Very good. Councillor Parslow is moving. Councillor Wilbur is seconding. I am just trying to sort these out here. I'm just trying to look at them as we 4176. Very good. Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? And it is carried. Item 8.3 is the Official Community Plan and Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 4185 and 4186, 2013 for consideration of third reading and adoption. Councillor Kenny, Councillor Schumann. This is, well, Council held the public hearing on this earlier this morning. Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. And the final item in bylaws is zoning amendment for 8700 17th Street, bylaw number 4187, 2013 for consideration of third reading and adoption. Councillor Wilbur is moving, and Councillor McFadden is seconding. All those in favor? Opposed, and it is carried. Which brings us to mayor's business, that's right. There are a couple of things that I think need to be considered under mayor's business, but I believe the first thing that is identified is a request for reconsideration, third reading and adoption regarding the zoning amendment bylaw number 4156, which I have a conflict with because of my, council is familiar with that, but it's my close proximity to the area that I believe I have a conflict with it on. And I am going to vacate this chair so that council can consider this matter. And I believe that it's Councillor Schumann, who is acting mayor November, December this year, that I will hand the chair over. Good luck, folks.
We don't need luck, we just want skill.
All right, so we are looking at a reconsideration of, I don't even have all this stuff. Do we, through to staff, we vote on this?
Yeah.
This is,
Well, through you, Madam Chair, the reconsideration is now on the table. So an option available to you is simply to revote on your original decisions on the bylaw. Our legal advice captured in the report is that you would place your outcome in jeopardy if you did that legally, because you have received information subsequent to your last public hearing, that you should in fact refer this vote until after another public hearing to consider the new information. That's the advice we have for you. So we'd be actually looking for a motion to refer to a future meeting following a second public hearing.
all right, so I'll look to council for that. Councilor McFadden?
I'll make the motion then that we refer this matter, refer the matter from the July the 31st, 2013 meeting regarding zoning amendment bylaw number 4156-212 to a future meeting of council following a second public hearing being held on the matter.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Wilbur? Any discussion? Councillor Wilbur?
Through you, Madam Chair, to staff, so would it be appropriate then to make a motion to have the public hearing at the September 23rd meeting, or does that just happen automatically?
I don't know, it would be a matter of when we can get the notices out, so can we meet the 23rd meeting?
We can meet that deadline for the 23rd, yes.
Right, so I make a motion on public hearing be held on September 23rd, 2013.
So is that an addition to, an amendment to Councillor McFadden's original amendment?
I think you could just
Friendly?
include it in your original
Okay.
motion.
Yeah. Good. Any more comments? And all in favor? Opposed? Good, thanks.
So now we got Stanberg, eh? He's a very well respected elder in the Métis community, Bill Stanberg. Nice man.
Hello.
Hello.
What's it like out there?
Pardon me?
Say, what's it like out there?
Well, it's nice. It's bright and sunny.
Delvin Crook, eh? Is that where we're at?
No, we're
No,
not.
we're
Bill-
still
Bill
under mayor's
Sandberg.
business.
There's Bill Sandberg. A couple of curiosities that I hope to satisfy there, and a couple of things that I hope to update council on if possible. Perhaps I will just, staff was present for Bill Sandberg's presentation, just as council was, and perhaps they would like the opportunity to speak to some of the points that were identified in his presentation.
Through your worship, I don't think we'd like to do that off the cuff. If council wishes to direct a staff report, we'd be happy to prepare one.
Awesome.
Good idea.
I move, or sorry, well, yeah, I suppose I'll move that staff prepare a report responding to some of Mr. Sandberg's complaints and concerns. Jim, do you wish to, oh, sorry, Councillor Schumann is seconding. Is there any discussion on this matter? Councillor Wilbur?
Just a couple things I wanted to add. I know that Mr. Summer, I think he came last year, or he had road council.
He did.
And
yeah.
I do remember going and taking pictures and sending them out to everybody. And part of the concern I had was that the ditch at the end of that alleyway, or that fire lane, as it was so called when it was first put in, has been closed off. So any little bit of ditching that's there, it's been filled in, and the water can't get to the drain on that end street. And I think that's part of the issue. And I think at that time, we were going to have someone talk to the developer about please not doing exactly what he did, which was piling the dirt up against Mr. Sandberg's fence. So if that's just something maybe that in that report we can look at and maybe report back to us, did we do that? And if they could look at that ditching issue. It is an issue, and it's blocked off. The homeowner has rented the lot across the alleyway and has blocked that little bit of ditching that there is off to get their equipment and trailers and stuff onto that other piece of property. So by doing that, it's caused backup for the other landowners. So
Yeah.
I do understand his concern. So if we could look at that, that would be appreciated.
Thank you, Councillor Wilbur. I, like you, had the opportunity to take a tour of his property and see what's, well, he showed me what some of his concerns were, so I'm a little familiar with them as well. Yes, I hope that staff will be able to respond to these concerns in a report. And I suppose the specifics on the things that he identified, we can get into at a later time. Councillor Parslow.
So you need a motion for requesting a report from staff?
I already made
I've
one.
done that, so you need to
Yeah.
vote on it? Okay.
Yeah, you guys
Question?
ready to vote? All right, all in favor? Opposed? And it is carried. Gee, now let me sort through this here. Oh dear. I attended a Sons of Norway event this weekend as acting mayor. MLA Bernier was in attendance as well. He sends his good wishes. Well, he sends his best wishes to council. He was, well, he seemed like he was doing quite well. I attended a Touch a Truck event as acting mayor on Shaylee's behalf earlier in the month. Great community event. put on by the Encana Event Center. A great way. It was just good seeing that kind of use at that center, you know. It's one thing to have events that are more commercially oriented, but this one was a community event, a lot of youth around and a lot of families as well. It was a great event. I will be attending the office opening of MLA Bernier, I believe later this week. Council is invited to attend that as well. Also the Terry Fox Run, I'll have the pleasure of attending. Well, you folks, I believe, are leaving for UBCM that day, so that'll be good. And I just have it identified here. I suppose no direction from council is needed on this matter, but the Oilmen's Association did last year, when council corresponded with them, identify that they were hoping to get some grass and other things in along that bridge in Kin Park before we held some sort of a barbecue or a thank you ceremony for them. Perhaps I could correspond with them to see where they're at in that process so that we can thank them properly for their contribution out there. Is council still committed to that? Not. No? I'm not hearing any objection.
No, we
So-
did want to do something, so that's
Very good. Very good. And I don't believe that I've... Oh, yes. Certainly, as acting mayor, I would encourage the media and, well, any members of the public present to get out there and vote on the 11th and on the 14th. It's...
Actually, maybe just vote one of those two
Yeah.
times.
Did I say and? Did I say? I'm sorry.
One vote per person, not two.
Yeah. Close one. But yes, it's very important that we get good participation at the election. The more the better, you know. The more legitimacy that people that occupy these seats have. So I encourage one final time that we get out there and participate. Very good. That's all that I had. Is there anything that I'm missing? I don't think so. Let us move to the item 10.1, Calvin Crook Center for the Arts update.
Nothing new for this meeting, Your Worship.
Nothing new for this meeting? All right. Yeah, I see that we've completed the, well, just nearing completion on the perimeter work out there. Is that right?
I don't have x-ray vision, Your Worship, so I don't know what's going on under the ground, and I don't see Duncan here, so I actually don't have...
Oh, I
I can't tell
apologize.
you when that work is.
Sure. Perhaps we can get some background on that in the near future. Number 11, the consent calendar. I believe there are 7 items on the consent calendar. Wish for somebody to move that.
they be received?
Councillor Parslow, Councillor Schumann. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. And strategic priorities chart. Anything new, Jim?
Nothing new on the charge, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. And I suppose the only item, oh, I apologize, I'm glossing over this. Question and answer period. I trust nobody's signed up for question and answer period. Brenda? No, hearing none, we'll move to the media question period. Do any members of the media wish to ask any questions?
Actually, I had some about the, sorry, which one is it now? The reconsideration of the zoning amendment bylaw. I guess my first question would be towards either Charlie Parslow or Terry McFadden. And I guess I'm just curious though, because you guys, if my memory serves me correctly, is that you guys originally voted not to proceed with the zoning amendment changes. And I'd be curious to know, I mean, given that, why you're now choosing to go ahead with the reconsideration of the zoning amendment bylaw. Is it because of the extra information you received, or what's kind of the situation there?
Perhaps I better take that one, Your Worship.
Certainly.
It's being
Jim,
reconsidered because the mayor required it to be reconsidered.
Before you, well, okay, I'm just wondering if we're going to have a discussion about this. Perhaps I ought to leave the room.
That's why I stepped in and said perhaps I should take this rather than you directing a council question through council. The legislation says that a mayor can require a reconsideration on any vote. And so acting Mayor Wilbur did require that reconsideration, so there will be another vote.
Okay, but I guess guess my question was for the counselors who voted on the reconsideration, I guess why did you vote to reconsider it rather than just sort of?
Again,
down?
Will,
Oh, sorry.
let me go through this slowly for you.
Sorry.
There is no vote about the reconsideration.
Oh, okay.
It's mandatory. When the mayor says it's going to be reconsidered, it's going to be reconsidered. None of my councilors can talk to you about how they might vote on the reconsideration because they must come to the public hearing with an open mind, able to be convinced. So the next time there will be any information about this will be after the next public hearing.
Okay, sorry, I wasn't aware of that.
What we voted on was to have another public hearing, right?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, no, thanks. And just to let you know, in reference to what Duncan said earlier, I've already voted, so.
Oh, right on, right
Good
on.
job. Tell all your friends.
Well, if I had more friends, I'd tell them that.
Thank you very much for your question, Will. Appreciate it.
And thanks for voting.
Yes, yeah. No other questions. Hearing none, I will ask for council to make a motion to recess to the closed portion of the meeting. Councillor Parslow, Councillor Wilbur, all those in favor. Opposed, and it is carried. Thank you very much.